So, have you managed to do anything?
Hi guys.
creatively?
Okay, so now we're up. Okay, good. Took a little doing, but Mr. Sci-Fi is live and the table is live and life is good. So
So we went
so
directly to
right.
England.
So Adam, if you want to look, monitor the comments if anyone comes aboard, Mr. Sci-Fi, that'd be great.
Already.
So Paul, is there anything you need beyond the heart and all of those things?
No, that once I get my website running, then I'm going to be in touch with you, asking you some questions. So
Great.
I don't want to do it live yet. So
Understood. Well, great. Well, 3 cheers, Paul.
Well,
Yay.
thank you for joining us. But just know that we're not allowed out either, except for
fine.
shopping.
Yes.
And but we can walk our dogs.
Yes.
At least in our area, it's a dog-friendly area.
Now, so thanks, Paul. And now someone else who we should.
With
what? No, there's Connie from England. So maybe we should.
Connie,
so if you want to unmute Connie and check in. So this is Connie. She's Lord Peter Haynes' granddaughter, and she
very
auditioned.
Good actress.
Yeah, she auditioned
really
for
nice work.
for
really
Ella.
Nice
yeah,
work.
great.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Right. Yeah, I'm alright. Everything's a bit crazy as it is everywhere at the moment. Obviously, yeah, we can't go out. My 3 kids are home from school,
Mm-hmm.
so I've got to homeschool them as well as doing all my stuff. So we're in Wales.
Yeah, well, we really liked your audition. It was great, and
Thank you.
we definitely want to keep you in mind for other roles as we move forward. For those who don't know, we're doing a Space Command episode entirely with the actors shooting their own scenes in their own homes. We've already gotten stuff from Bill Mumy and Mira Furlan and many of our cast. It's going great. So, but Connie auditioned for Ella, and it was really impressive. You did a great job.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah. So, is there anything you need or anything we can help you with at this stage?
Beyond childcare.
Beyond childcare, yeah.
Oh, if only. No, I'm okay. I'm just thrilled to actually be able to attend the table for once.
Oh,
yes.
Great. It's good to have you.
Yeah. So no, I'm good. I'm working on my college work. So I'm at college at the moment doing production arts.
Great.
Oh, wow.
So props, sets, costume, makeup.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of working away at that because obviously we're not at college anymore, so working from home.
Yes.
And writing and just trying to audition for whatever I can and do all of the other things at the same time. But yeah, no, I'm just happy to be here, really. I'm good at the moment. But thank you.
Yay. 3 cheers. And again,
can I just ask where Connie is in Wales?
Near Neath. So about half an hour from Swansea.
Oh, right. So I'm in Liverpool, see.
My dad was from Liverpool.
Wow, that's
So
great.
I've got a lot of family up there.
Weren't the Beatles from Liverpool?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But so great. Well, 3 cheers. Yay. So, and again, to let everyone know when it's not your turn or you're not talking to someone back and forth, as we just were, please mute your mics so that we have less.
I mean, you can certainly throw in comments, but
yeah,
just
of course.
mute and unmute so we don't get the feedback.
Yeah. So we can. So Connie, do you want to take your turn? You're up there, Connie. Are you, Connie? Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Carol Field. Sorry, I didn't mean Connie. Sorry, Connie. I'm a little loud. Carol Field. Yeah, Carol, please go for it.
Carol,
are you there? Can you unmute? Can you hear us? There you go. Yeah, now we can hear you. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm very happy to see all of you. Anybody have any acting stuff? I'm climbing walls. That's the only thing that would make me feel comfortable right now. But I audition for anything under the sun. I don't care if it's a naked pole dancer. I will. Not really. Yeah, really. I'm climbing walls. Within 1 week, I found out my nephew's bar mitzvah was canceled, and this wedding I was going to sing for was canceled. This things I was really looking forward to. So I sat in my house and I said, everything's being taken away from me. I was in a really negative, disgusting, pessimistic mood.
Yes.
And I wrote this. If I could just read it to you. So I wrote this, and I'm calling it "I Am Grateful For Nonetheless."
Great.
Good.
My electricity works. My water flows. The air is clean. I have thoughts. I have feelings. I breathe wonderfully. I have friends. I have beautiful patients. I have an outrageous family. I have memories. I have had pets. I feel love. I receive love from so many. I am safe. I'm in the United States. I am within your brilliance.
Great.
And that made me feel better.
Oh,
Well, that's great.
That's wonderful.
I would also add there aren't zombies yet.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to be
Oh,
really grateful for, having seen many movies. And by the way, if one is looking for a really good movie to watch on Netflix, if you haven't seen it, The Girl with the Gifts is a terrific film. It's a zombie film, but really different and really good. It's based on a very good novel. The Girl with the Gifts.
With all the gifts.
The Girl with All the Gifts. Yes.
Thank you.
It's really good. And the sequel.
It's good to have an editor for all
Yeah,
things.
and the
Yes.
sequel novel, The Boy on the Bridge, is also very good. So I can recommend that. So great. So go ahead, Carol.
If you
So yeah.
Carol, if you double check the emails from the table, there are a lot of people who are going, stir crazy.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of stuff going on, including a podcast and then
Yes.
people asking for volunteers for interviews and things.
Mhm. Yeah.
So if you skim it, I think you'll find many people who would actually love to involve you in their stuff.
Yes.
They
Yes.
should. Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
You bet.
Also,
I have
Yes.
one question.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, sure. Go for it. Oh,
also, Carol, I mentioned this last week, but it's definitely continued, and there's more of them. There's a lot of open call auditions. I don't know if if you have an agent or whatever, but
I did. I don't know where he is. He's sleeping all the time.
yeah.
But you can even on Instagram, there's a lot of casting agencies. If you start looking up casting directors, casting agencies on Instagram, they're posting these challenges and open call.
Cool.
Thank you. And I want to talk to you too.
Okay.
I want to also
Great.
talk. I just have one.
No,
Okay. Shall we go to Susan?
I
then?
think we got it. Yeah.
Okay,
go ahead.
great. So Susan, go for it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward tomorrow. I'm going to be speaking with Felicia Rashad, and if she wants to direct or produce, that would be fantastic.
Great.
Wow.
My film Undaunted.
Yes.
We really sorely need an A-list person,
Mhm.
and she plus, I think.
Great.
That's
I've worked with
exciting.
her before, but we're real close contact, and I'm hoping she will come aboard.
Cool.
Wow.
Good.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Leave a little bit early because it's an hour later here, and I got to get up very early, get
Sure.
ready for stuff.
That sounds great. Well, great. Well, 3 cheers. Yay.
Do you have any questions?
Anything else you need?
No, I got some help. Adam, you gave me where is he? Yes.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, you gave me that name of Aisha Tyler, and if Felicia isn't up for it, then I'd love to go to her. Is her address the best? That I came up with IMDb. She has her own company, and she gives her email address, and she gives a 424 number.
Huh.
Is that the best way to?
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's always Instagram too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what I'm finding nowadays is that people are a lot more accessible, and because they're all sitting at home, and so yeah, it's really a great time to try to reach out to people. Absolutely. So yeah, anything else?
No, that's all for now.
Yay,
Thank you.
Susan.
Welcome.
Great.
Yay.
So Jacob, shall we go to you if you want to unmute?
Hi, everybody. It's great to see you again.
Yes, you too.
I've been working on my project. It's a film in Hawaii. And I've been talking to a lead actor, possible lead actor. I have a lot of actors locally, but I haven't been able to find a lead actor. So maybe this one will work out. I also received interest on the project from Sandra Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Great.
So we'll see where that goes. And she would, as an actor, she would fit in perfectly with local Hawaii.
Great.
What I need, Mark, and I've been thinking about this for a while, thinking of approaching you, I need somebody to help me do a budget for the film from a heavily union state. And it's everything is union here. And I do not want to film in Florida or anywhere else. I want it to be Hawaii. So can you kind of help tell me what?
Have you talked to the film board?
The film board,
The
you mean
Hawaii-
the local film board?
Yes,
Yes,
the
uh-huh.
Hawaii Film Board. Yeah.
Well, there are commissioners here.
Yes.
There's the City and County of Honolulu commissioner. There's the state film commissioner. So I have been in contact with one of them. Actually, one of them turned on a couple of local producers to the project as well. But
Was he?
but also William.
I want somebody with some maybe more industry experience.
Yes,
that has done it.
Sure. Well, William Garcia, did you have something you wanted to mention?
I
I'm sorry.
may
Go ahead.
do something helpful here too.
Oh,
Okay, great.
Go ahead, Michelle.
When I was running the limousine company, which went on for years and years, we did a lot of transportation for films that were shooting in Hawaii. And I got to know a couple of the production coordinators. And if I can get back into our archives and find stuff, I will look their names up and see if I can get them to you.
great.
They may be helpful, but these are people who are based in Hawaii permanently on whatever productions there are in Hawaii. So they may be able to give you some referral. I couldn't figure out whether I was saying referrals or references, but you know what I'm saying.
Both.
That's why we have multiple takes in film.
What I'll do is I'll send you my email, and any assistance or you could point me in the right direction would be greatly appreciated.
We'll try to do that. Yeah. Send me your email, and I will go into my files and see what we did that came from Hawaii, because I know we did 3 or 4 productions that were there, and we took care of transporting them, the stars and the director and whoever it was that needed to be shipped over there.
Cool.
Okay.
Oh, great. I
I'll
mean,
send you my email.
the good thing about getting.
I'm sorry.
The good thing about getting a local person is that they do have those relationships when it
Yes,
comes to,
of course,
budgeting.
Of course. And William, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I mean, what's the specific island that you're shooting?
Well, the story takes place mostly on Oahu and Honolulu, but also takes place on the Big Island. And I'm debating whether I can set up certain shots from the Big Island and film them on Oahu, and then maybe take some second unit shots of places on the Big Island. Maybe that will help with the budget. So what I need, William, is just somebody to kind of either help guide me or show me how to do it, or assist me in some way to kind of figure out a budget so I can start when this thing kind of clears up and I can get back to LA or anybody I can approach to start talking about some kind of financing. I do have some money I can put in, but I know that in a union state, it's going to cost a lot more than I have.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it depends on what you want to shoot your project. Like, what are you thinking? Are you going into the millions of dollars, or you want to do this something very small in the hundreds of thousands? But I'll be more than happy to talk to you, Jacob. We talk all the time, and I can advise you on how to move forward. But absolutely, hiring a local line producer is very helpful if you're doing a very indie route. But if you're doing a union shoot, Hawaii is part of the U.S. and it's part of the bargaining unit for IATSE, TGA, and all that. So if you can get a national agreement, which is the national contract, you can actually, those numbers are not gonna change for your crew.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, that's how it works. It matters if you're a one-off. So that means that your production company is only qualified to have one movie. You're only shooting one movie. You're not going to have a national agreement. There's different agreements for like feature films, television. I mean, it goes into very detail, but I'll be more than happy to talk to you and kind of pick your brain on what you're trying to achieve. And then I can tell you what's the best way to go.
Let me, you may have my phone number. Let me, at your convenience, if you could maybe call me or let me know when you can talk, and I'd certainly appreciate it, William.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want, we can meet like half an hour early tomorrow. I don't know if you're going to join me tomorrow.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, just show up at 12:30. I'll jot it down. We can have a conversation before we start the 1 o'clock
Cool.
Perfect. Thank
Great.
you.
Okay.
Yay.
Yay. So, Arena, I guess let's go to you because you're in New York. So,
real quick.
oh yeah, first, Mr. Sci-Fi. Yes, go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, but we've been getting a lot of chatter about your lighting issues.
Yes, it's excellent, isn't it?
Is there a way you can move your lamp so that it's in front of you guys?
No, not right now, but I can do some things. Hang on, let me see what I can do.
Well, maybe we should do
Or
it
maybe
next
turn
time.
it off. That might help because it's
really. Let's see what that does.
It might actually work.
Well, let's see what happens.
Let's see.
Yeah, Mark, what's happening is you're backlit. So your background is more light than you need a key for your face.
Well,
and just keep the background dark.
Hold on. Let's see what we can do.
Can I jump in with a suggestion? Sometimes the fake Zoom backgrounds actually make you look like you're better lit, depending on what they are.
That's nice.
Okay.
Okay. This is a little different. I look
that's
kind
a little
of
glary.
Yeah, yes. Well,
I think
that would
one...
work for Zoom, but that wouldn't work for our YouTube Live.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
okay.
They're the ones that are
we're
complaining. Actually, that looks better. I think that looks better.
Okay.
There we go.
How
How
about this?
Okay.
Okay. That's about the same.
Okay.
So,
if we go with that. Oh yeah.
So is there a question?
I think
it's better. Yes, there is a question from O.D. Dillon.
Yes.
Who asks, were you surprised that you found 2 characters in your recent casting search?
No, because when we had our original casting search back before we shot any of Space Command, we were casting 2 roles, and I think ultimately ended up casting 9 actors in different roles as well. We created Captain Essex, and so forth. So you get such a wonderful range of talent auditioning that if you can cast more than one person and really utilize the people who come in through the door, it's a good thing. So no, I'm very pleased that we there are other people we plan to keep in mind for other roles as well who auditioned this time out. So for the worldwide talent search,
we saw a lot of exciting talent. Some of them didn't quite fit the role or the balance between people we'd already cast. But yes, we definitely put them in the files because we hit a lot of talent all across the country.
It was great. It was great. So any other question, Adam? I'm sorry, or we can go to Arena?
No, we're good.
Okay, so go for it, Arena, if you want to unmute. Go. Yeah, hi.
Hi, Arena.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good.
Good.
Good to see you well.
Yeah.
Just staying safe, staying inside, and editing my series.
Good.
2 episodes are completed. 3rd episode should be done this week. And then I have another 7 to go. I have a question.
Sure.
When I was in LA last year, I never actually was added to the LA table email. Also, my friend tried, she sent out the request and she never was added or heard back. What's the process now to be added?
If you email us, we can flag it to our moderator and make it happen. So just email us with your friend's information and your information, and we'll connect you up with them.
Okay, and it's still you require to have a email address with the name, right?
It helps. It helps avoid spam. Yeah.
Well, it's spam, and evidently there had been some issues with inappropriate behavior, and it was hard to track the individual who was being inappropriate.
Yeah.
The inappropriate person was never female, surprisingly. But that by giving a full name, it seemed to put a stomper on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But great. Okay. So is there anything you need or anything else?
That's all.
Okay. Cheers. Yay. So Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi query?
Yes, there's a little quick one. Your thoughts on Superman in the history of sci-fi?
Well,
that's from John J.
Well, it's very interesting that in the 30s you started to get superheroes. I mean, Superman was the first one, of course, and he was an extraterrestrial. It was a science fictional origin story, And so there's been a lot of sort of cross-fertilization between comics and print science fiction and film and TV and radio, of course. And Superman, of course, has been in all of those. So yeah, it's a very cool and very durable character, and I certainly loved Superman as a kid and still have a fondness for him. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a science fictional creation, and so I think it's very, very clever the way they came up with him and how it's developed since then. So cool. Yeah. So
Adam, do you have any questions yourself in terms of your career?
Oh, did you want to have your turn? Sure, take your turn.
Oh yeah, I can take my turn.
Sure, you bet.
Well, let's see. I did recently post a scene on the table. I sent it to the table, little link that I had submitted for some of these open call auditions. I got some very great feedback.
Cool.
Very grateful for that to everyone that responded.
Okay.
And of course, probably should have got that feedback before I submitted it to those places, but
well, it's a process.
I still feel good. I still feel I did all right.
Yeah.
But it's just I guess my question, my ask here would be how to keep organized, how to stay afloat of all of this stuff coming in from every direction.
Yes. It's a good question. Well, first of all, you should divide everything into one of 4 categories, okay? Urgent and important, not urgent but important, not urgent, not important, and urgent, not important. Because usually what gets done is urgent, not important, and what doesn't get done is important, not urgent. And so as a result, when you're aware of which category everything falls into, you can move your priorities and prioritize some stuff that actually is important. What I tend to do, or what Elaine and I tend to do, is, first of all, we just know that 5 days a week minimally we're working. So we get up, we have breakfast, then we get to work, and we'll work till like 6 or 7 at night. And and then so knowing that, it's sort of like, okay, now we're working. And so and I use a timer. So I'll write down the different tasks I have. And then I'll say, okay, for the next hour, I'm going to work on the Sweet Haven script. For the next, 45 minutes, I'll work on, whatever. And I divide it up. And when I make my list for the week, I put $signs by the things that will earn me money, and I put stars by the things that will advance me creatively. And so anything that doesn't have one of those 2 or both, I don't do. And so it's really important to recognize how much things that aren't worth doing are taking up your time. And one thing I always say is, in terms of if you feel you're watching TV too much or anything like that, unplug the TV, so that when you have to watch something, you have to plug it in. And that little extra amount of effort makes you mindful, so it isn't quite so automatic. I think it's very important to recognize how one can be a catalyst in one's life, how one can take action and not wait to be chosen. So in taking action, it's like, for instance, it's the fact that we're doing a Space Command episode during the pandemic, and I'm probably going to also do a table read on Zoom for the Sweet Haven pilot with my actors. I think that would be very fun, and then make that public so people can watch it and share it.
I don't know if I've ever mentioned this. Sometimes I've asked people to do a color chart where you make a chart of every minute you spend in a week without any judgment.
Yes.
And like, what are you doing for self-care? What are you doing for maintenance? What are you doing for this? What are you doing for that? And what are you doing to advance your dream? And you don't put any judgment on it. It's like, how much time do you spend goofing off? And you don't even think about it. Just write it down as soon as you catch yourself in it. Then, after you've written it all down and say how much time per day do you spend on each thing, in red, you mark a little thing of how much time you spend specifically focused on achieving your dream. And if there's a lot of red, great. And if it's just a few thin lines, then you get to look at that.
Yes.
You get to look at that. And I say, I think I'm very glad that you put an audition up. because it's like you took a risk, but then you can learn a lot from that risk. And what I saw is you picked good material, and it was credible. But where you wouldn't be in the top rank is that one of the things that's extremely important, that takes the biggest amount of time, is moment by moment, whenever you're talking about something, that it becomes an extremely real image in your mind, so that you actually see it. You actually see,
yes.
If you have a child, you see that child, and in your mind, you plant some moments that feel extremely real to you, until it's like one powerful image per thing that you talk about, so that when you're talking, the main time, it doesn't matter how you say a thing. What's important is that moment by moment in your gut is very, very real, and emotional images resonate from that. I wasn't somehow I thought when I was very young that this work wasn't that important. But I had a little tiny role. It was Taya in Hedda Gabler, right? And I had just a throwaway line about my husband, just something. Oh, he's something. But I had spent in my room thinking about it. I spent a lot of time creating this image of me being very young and going to a party and feeling very important, my first big party. And I went over to my very sophisticated husband, and everyone was laughing. And I thought, oh, how gay, how jolly, how gay. And then I realized that they were laughing at my expense, that I was a joke because I was like a poor country girl. And I kept thinking that through until that image was like burned into my brain, the burning cheeks, the this and that. And it became very, very real to me. So that when I just casually mentioned my husband, I saw that. It sort of popped into my head, and then I just went on, I just got caught for a second because I saw it in my mind, and I just went on talking. And I thought, well, that was just for me. That was just a lot of time just for me to be a perfectionist. About 4 or 5 people came to me afterwards and said that they pictured that guy with incredible clarity, and what a son of a bitch. And I thought, I will never underestimate audiences again. They really see what is really going on when you feel it profoundly. And when I'm directing, if somebody's feeling something, I don't care if they shout the line. I don't care if they whisper the line. I don't care how I originally saw it. If they're really in the moment, and you really get a sense of their strong sense memory, that they can even be. I've rewritten things several times for different types when somebody really nailed something emotionally. I did a rewrite. So that would be one thing that you might want to play with.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
That was
no,
awesome.
I mean, yeah, that was really, really good. Thank you.
Sure.
I'm definitely doing that. I do have another question from OD Dillon.
Okay.
Is there a P.O. box we can send items for your rewards box for the funding campaign? If so, where do we find the address?
Oh.
I'm not sure what this is addressing.
Oh, hang on for just one moment. Mark, we have a question
Sure.
about funding.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and Dean, I'm doing the table right now via Zoom, so I'm gonna get back to it. But we'll talk really soon, okay? Okay, you too. Take care. Talk soon. Bye.
Okay. So could you please repeat that?
Sorry,
Adam?
guys. That was our music guy.
Uh-huh.
I mean, our sound guy.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
OD Dillon asks, is there a P.O. box we can send items for your rewards box for the funding campaign? If so, where do we find
what does that mean?
The address?
I'm not sure what he's asking. He wants.
I'm not sure what.
Well, how do you? There's several ways you receive funding.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about
Maybe
that?
he wants to send a check instead.
I'm sure you can.
Well, if one wants to support Space Command, if one wants to send money our way, there's several different ways to do that. There's PayPal to my email address, markzicree@gmail.com. There's patreon.com/markzicree. One can buy Space Command shares again by just contacting me directly for $7,500 each. We're going to have more crowdfunding campaigns as soon as the pandemic's over, but we were able to raise $57,000 during the pandemic, which was great. But everything,
you could come to our apartment and just leave a box of money at the door.
Yes, boxes of money are welcome. But all of that stuff works, and and is welcome, but Odie, you can always email me at markzickby@gmail.com or call me 323-363-1259, and we can, get into it. But if that's what you're asking, and if I'm missing another detail of your question, just,
try again.
Rephrase it.
Yeah.
Shake the magic 8 ball again, and you'll get a different response. So, okay, great. So where are we now?
Go
ahead.
That's it for me.
Okay.
And I'll chime in with more as we get to it.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Adam. So I guess Dave, you're up. Go for it. Dave Edison.
Hi. Yeah. I was busy.
Good.
I'm exporting plates for the VFX people on Space Command Episode 2.
Yes.
And for those of you who know what plates are, please explain it to me. These are just the shots of various shots cut out and ready for the VFX people to do their magic.
I thought plates were what you get when you go to the movie theater and they draw your name.
Wow. Wow. Were tickets a quarter then?
Yes. They used to give a set of plates. And so
upper and lower.
Yeah, really, exactly. Well, the people who remember it would be upper and lower now, yes.
Yeah. So I'm Dave Edison, for those of you who don't know me, and this is what I'm doing. It's another week in quarantine. Went out Monday shopping and briefly as we could with the line, and gloves and masks and nerves on edge, and that took a while to unwind from.
Mm-hmm.
Still not quite unwound. And it's been a really difficult time, but fortunately, Mark and Elaine are keeping me busy here.
Yes.
And where are we at? Well, we're working on the
we're multitasking.
Yeah,
what we're
ripple
doing.
effect.
I mean,
ripple effect. The selfie episode.
The pandemic. Yes. Well, yeah. To put it in perspective, of course, Dave is our wonderful editor on our various projects, principally Space Command. And so right now we're working on combining the graphic novel with the audio play into what's called an animatic, which is an animated storyboard. That's coming out great.
Titled Plants.
Right. And United Planet.
Right.
We're working in post-production with visual effects and other aspects of the second hour of Space Command. We're, of course, prepping to shoot the fourth hour when the pandemic's over. But meantime, we're doing the extra episode of Space Command during the pandemic that Elaine and I are actually writing. We're 33 pages in on it. And our actors are already delivering scenes. We've gotten Bill Mummy's scene. We've gotten Mira Furlan's scene. Bob Picardo is shooting one. Michael Harney is shooting one. On and on. Armin Shimmerman.
I sent you a test of that moment of the.
Yes, it was great.
That was perfect. That was
yes,
perfect. Yeah.
Yes, very funny, very funny. So just drop that take into the cut as at least a placeholder. It's a good take.
Oh, it's in.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Well, as you put everything in place, just send me a version of it.
All right, that's good. Yeah, I wanted you to see that before I kicked out a whole new one.
It was great.
And of course, we are doing almost ready to do.
What?
As soon as you send a video of.
The outro for the webisode. Yes, webisode 10 of Space Command.
Webisode 10, this many.
Yes.
The final episode, the final webisode
for
of
the moment.
Space Command.
Yes, and then we go to 11 and 12 and 13. Absolutely, yes.
It goes to 11.
Yes, it does. These go to 11. And so
so this is where I am. This is where I spend my day.
Yeah.
So
the splendor.
Yeah. Don't even get me started. Hey, you've got nothing to say about anybody's collections.
No, not absolutely. No. I'm a happy camper. I have no complaints. So anything you need, Dave, other than the pandemic to be over and so forth?
And some personal
time. That would be nice.
Yes.
To step out of here and get some air once in a while.
Yes. But
you could borrow our dogs. You're allowed to walk dogs.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yes.
I read I forgot to mention. I read the Fari Hubbard scene.
Yes.
That made me laugh.
Yes,
You both will enjoy that when you see it someday.
The dogs are going to have a cameo in the Space Command episode. That's going to be pretty fun. So that was David Bartlett's idea and a good one. So we incorporated it.
Thank you, David.
Yes, thank you. So anything else for now? Anything else for now, Dave? Okay, 3 cheers. Yay, Dave, Edison, ladies and gentlemen.
Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you. You too. So Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, we do. Sean Allen asks, what is the hardest part about creating new characters and legacies to go with them? What do new characters and legacies need to do to replace the aging or overused what we have?
Yes. Well, I really like to choose my actors for the specific roles, and because if you're writing for Doug Hayes or Bob Picardo or Mira Furlan or any of the people we're working with, they're so specific and they're so distinctive, and it's so easy to visualize them and hear them in my head. Doug Jones, of course. Doug is great. That helps a lot, and because I know who these characters are, and as does Elaine. And in terms of the legacy, it's in science fiction, you're not just creating the characters, you're creating the universe. And so you have to be mindful of it's a mixture of being part of a tradition. So you're mindful of what's gone before, but it's also creating something that makes your project distinctive and individual. For instance, there's an actor named J.G. Hertzler who is in Space Command now, and he played Klingons and so forth in Deep Space Nine and various other Star Trek series. And so he's going to be in Space Command now, but also I'm going to put him in Sweet Haven, which is the one, ironically, Rockne O'Bannon and I came up with it before the pandemic, but it's about a pandemic where everyone in the world under 60 dies, and the people 60 and above have to figure out how to save humanity. And I've written roles for Bob Picardo and Mira Furlan and George Takei, Michael Harney, and so forth, and Barbara Bain. And so I'll drop J.G. Hertzler into it too, and he'll be great.
But creating new characters and legacies is the easier part. It's interweaving them in terms of plot with the ongoing storyline that becomes more challenging, so you don't become cluttered, you keep it fresh. So the structure is a little harder than the fun of creating a new individual.
Yeah.
Okay.
But just watch Mr. Sci-Fi and see what we're uploading as we upload it, and that'll kind of give you an idea about how we do what we do. So great. So Michelle, do you want to take your turn? Let's see. Oh, you have to unmute it. Can you unmute your mic? Unmute? Yeah, there you go. Okay, you got it. Better. That's good. Well done.
The extent of my technical abilities. Let's see. First place, Jacob, I know you briefly put up your email address there, and I didn't get it accurately. So if you could do that again, that would be good. I didn't realize I needed to sit here with a pencil in my hand. Sweet Haven. I'm obviously in the demographic here. And Elaine, thank you for the acting lesson. I mean, you've talked at brief intervals about your approach to direction, and you are so clear. I always have, I sure hope it comes out when I act, but I sure have the feeling that I know what it is that you want to achieve and how you're trying to make us do what we need to do. Let's see, my technical thing was I ordered a device that will sit on top of the tripod that I forgot I had that will hold my cell phone. So that if push comes to shove and I actually have to shoot myself doing something, I guess I can work that out. I'll probably have a backdrop that's a door. It's the only thing that doesn't have paintings on it. Mm-hmm. I just finished reading Carl Sagan's book Contact, which I have had on the shelf for years and have never read it. And I did not see the movie. And it was really interesting because it is, of course, science fiction. And so much of what was in the book, which I believe was written in the 80s, so much of it was prescient and was very, relates quite a lot to what's going on now in the world, not so much scientifically, but politically. Mm-hmm. And it seemed so very au courant. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden one would get pulled up short by the mention of something like the Twin Towers, which of course makes me suddenly realize, oh yeah, this book was written a while ago. The other thing that I find that I am speaking in general much less than I did before, because I'm not seeing people. I'm not even, going out in the street and chatting with neighbors and so forth. And there's not that much going on in the business where I'm making phone calls. Actually, I'm looking for a straight job, a part-time job at this point, because I need to generate some bucks.
Sure.
But what I've been doing is, it's when push comes to shove, I read Shakespeare, and I have been reading it aloud. I've been going out and sitting in a park and reading it aloud, and just for exercise for my voice and for speaking.
Sure.
And because wonderful, and it's good for my brains.
Yes, that's good. That's good. And again, I want to stress, this time is an opportunity. And the trick is to say to yourself, how can I be creative? How can I be involved with other people? How can I be part of the world and part of the solution? And I think there's so many positives during this time, as long as we all stay safe and survive. The fact that the world has gotten quieter is a very interesting thing. It certainly allows for greater mindfulness. It allows for greater, consideration of your own life, kind of like thinking about, okay, well, when I come out of this, what do I want to be doing? There's many, many opportunities, and but it's very important.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I had a weird little adventure last night. Where I live, I am in a 1940s apartment building. It's a small building, and it's one of those carport first floor, second floor things, and I'm on the top floor. So when I find that I've been sitting too long on the couch, I'll walk down the stairs, and I'll walk along the walkway and then back up the stairs, and do that a couple of times.
Sure.
And it gets my backside off the couch.
Yes.
And so last night it was quite warm out. And I decided, well, I will walk down, and my building's on a corner. And I stood on the corner of Beverly Drive and Cascio, which is just a little bit short of Pico, and a couple blocks south of Pico. And there was nothing happening. There's a traffic light at my corner. And I walked into the center of the intersection, and I stood in the middle of the intersection, and I looked in all four directions. And at one point, 2 cars went by on Pico Boulevard. It's 10:30 at night. Nothing came from any direction at all. And I stood there for a while, just out of curiosity, to see how long it would be before a car came by. And the lights changed a couple of times, and suddenly I heard a guy across the street saying, "Hey, are you okay?" And yeah, I'm fine.
Yes.
And he said, "Come out of the middle of the street, a car might hit you." And I said, "No, that's the point. There aren't any cars. There's nothing that's going to hit me. I'm looking in 4 directions, and I'm standing here thinking of, gee, I wish I'd brought my cell phone down here, because I would have taken a video and just stood here and rotated slowly 360 degrees.
Wow.
And he said, "Well, are you sure you're okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm fine. This isn't nearly as crazy as it seems." And he said, "Have a nice night." Yeah,
exactly. But
you can rotate. You can rotate tomorrow. It's not going to have any more cars.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But it's not a heavily trafficked street to begin with, except at rush hour. For those of you who live in West Hollywood, Cascio is like Fountain Avenue. It's what everybody uses as a shortcut to get from east to west on a residential street and avoid the traffic.
Yeah.
So we have traffic at rush hour. Only now there's no rush hour.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So it's But go ahead.
I would like to congratulate you for reading Shakespeare.
Yes.
Because it's like it epitomizes how many people get lost in the words and just get lost on the surface of the page when they're doing Shakespeare. And it becomes gobbledygook. And if you're reading Shakespeare where you're thinking about what's underneath the words, it's the perfect thing to say. It has nothing to do with what's on the page, even if it's poetry. It has to do with what's going on beneath the words.
Yes.
And that's what the difference between having good, entertaining Shakespeare performances and ones where you start to snooze off, no matter how much you like the play.
Yes. Yeah. So great. Well, that's cool. So, okay. Well, anything else, Michelle?
Just looking for work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Great. Yay. Great. And so, Thane, I guess you're up if you want to take your turn. Thane, are you Thane Allison? Are you?
Thane?
Can you? There you go. Yeah. There you go. Got it.
Yeah. A little slow on the uptake there.
That's okay.
I've been under house arrest here for 36 days, 42 without ice cream, and, which is the bigger point of all this, I guess. I'm staying productive, working on my solo show. Jessica Johnson is offering a free session every morning at 9 o'clock of writing exercise, and that's been a way to get up and going and start my day a little earlier than I normally do. And so that's moving along. I haven't finished my taxes, but it's within view of finishing up, and so that's good. And of course, like everybody else, waiting for the world to restart. So it's not going to restart anytime soon. So I'm trying to figure out how I can put something together that I can use, either tape a monologue or something of that ilk. I did have a technical question that maybe Dave can answer. I have this cheap Logitech camera that I get online with, and it works reasonably well for what we're doing here. But it's occurred to me that it would be worthwhile, nice possibility to hook up my 7D camera to my computer as the input device. I have HDMI out of my 7D, but I don't think I have HDMI input to the computer. Does anybody have any suggestions how that might get done?
Not my area of expertise. Sorry, Thane.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Oh, yeah.
I've got a suggestion, Thane.
Sure.
You need an HDMI into your computer?
Yes.
What kind of computer do you have?
I have a PC, an HP, fairly rigorous in terms of memory and the processor and so on.
Okay, so you can probably go to Amazon and find computer adapters. These adapters have a variety of different ports for all kinds of cables, and you'll probably find one with extra USB ports, with an SD card slot, with an HDMI port, with a VGA to connect to an external monitor. So try Amazon. I bought a couple from there, and I've been lucky. Both of them worked for me.
Great.
So just make sure you match it with your computer, and read the comments that people who've bought it have made. Some of these get hot. Some of these are made in China, and they're bad, don't work. Get ones with good comments.
Cool. That sounds great.
I can chime in on this.
Right.
Yeah.
So you need a cable. It's not an adapter. The adapters can be funky. There's a cable you can get. I'm looking at one on eBay right now for $5. It's called Canon USB Cable Lead for EOS 7D. EOS is the name of the Canon camera line. What you do is you plug that into the camera. It's not an HDMI. It's a data port on your camera, and it goes straight into the computer with a USB cable, and then the computer will see it and the sound, both.
Cool. Okay.
I was just going to say, great. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. And in terms of writing and feeling that there's nothing happening, actually, we've been having a good time writing down the details of what is happening, because it's science fictional what's happening, but it's not like science fiction movies tend to be.
Well, there's all these details that were never in any of the pandemic or zombie movies, and that it's those interesting. Like, for instance, our dogs and everybody's dogs are getting freaked out because they're people are practicing social distancing, and the dogs get pulled with the owners, and they're just kind of picking up on the tension. Yes, and there's a bunch of little subtle details if you just kind of keep your eyes open to what's going on, and that's very, very interesting.
People politely waiting in line, people with the masks, not everybody, but growing.
Yes.
I mean, there are an awful lot of details where you pick it up and you might want to write about it, because it's much more complicated and interesting than science fiction movies where there are outbreaks.
Well, except for World War Z.
Except for World War Z. Yes.
The most boring apocalypse ever.
Yes.
But it is interesting. People selling masks on the street. We've just been making lists of things, and if you start to take lists of things, even your own feelings of what it's like, or talk to other people and say, "What are you feeling?" It will make a great bit of writing. So a lot is going on. We're just not quite attuned to it.
Right. So anything else, Thane?
I think I'm good. Some good ideas there, and I'll check out the cable and see if I can improve the quality of my picture.
Great. Terrific. 3 cheers. Yay. So Adam, are there any more Mr. Sci-Fi questions?
Yeah. I've got Mark Lungo back again with another question. This appears to be a Space Command universe question.
Sure.
How did the world evolve from our dark reality to their bright future? How did the social changes necessary to make their world possible happen?
Well, it's not. I view it as an extrapolation from our current world. The one, like, for instance, in the prequel United Planet, you find there's a character named Anoka Chandamal, who ultimately marries Anson Kemmer, Jack Kemmer's dad, and she's from Sri Lanka, and she's started a worldwide campaign called United Planet, and their motto is Sanity Now, and the idea is the politicians aren't going to solve all these world problems like global climate change and so forth, and that the people have to rise up as one, as humanity, and demand of their leaders sane solutions, because technologically we're able to do much more than we're actually doing. And so it's through, people basically can follow a dark star or a bright one. You can get a Hitler or a Martin Luther King, and so you need that person with the vision who speaks up and has the power to gather together millions of people. And so the changes that happen in our society are through those kind of events. And because I'm not trying to create something that has no relevance to now. I'm trying to create something that has a lot of relevance. And this doesn't mean that people abandon the challenges that we have now in our lives. It just means that things get better as well as worse. I think that's. Oh, go ahead, Lane.
It's a dark time.
Well,
it's a very dark time, but we have to understand that slavery used to be okay. That used to be okay, and not that long ago.
Right.
And we look at the fact that
things got better.
That we assume that everybody's going to, at least in this country or in a lot of other countries, that everybody has an education, that you want everyone to read. The conceit of a democratic process wasn't always around, or was very, very minor.
Right.
So if you say, gee, things are dark now, and they certainly are. But if you look at the long term and you say, well, actually, over the long term, there have been some major shifts to the better.
Well,
in human intercourse, that for all the frustration, we have to look at things do change.
Well, here's the thing that science fiction often gets wrong. In science fiction, often things just go to hell, and it's like dystopic and terrible and blah, 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 blah. In reality, over the course of my lifetime, things get better and worse simultaneously. So global warming gets worse, but we get the internet and we can do things like Zoom calls, and so forth. So, it's always that mixture of bad and good. And that's the thing to really be aware of and be present to. So in what I create with Elaine and what I create with Rockney O'Bannon and whomever, there's always that duality. So okay, great. So let's see who's next. I guess that's you, Casey. If you want to take your turn.
Could I get in here?
Oh,
for
sure,
1 minute?
Michelle.
I want to props to an artist who lists his or her name only as Sawdust.
Okay.
This is the person who did the cover on the March 26th Hollywood Reporter.
Huh. Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's neat. Wow, that's great.
Wow.
And it is the coronavirus appearing through the Death Star.
That's fun.
That's
very fun. Well,
that's the reporter, and I don't know who Sawdust is, and the subtitle is Hollywood in the Terrifying Age of Coronavirus.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's going to be a toy. Yeah.
That's
great. It's going to be a toy very soon, I'm sure. So great. That's cool. So thanks. So Casey, go for it.
Hi, I'm Casey Corpier. I'm here in Dallas.
Great.
And it's crazy here too. I have a friend who just told me that someone traded him a huge jar of honey for a roll of toilet paper.
Oh my God.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, send her my way.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I've actually been enclosed for quite a while, so it doesn't really bother me that much.
Uh-huh.
I've had a bout with cancer, so
yeah,
I've been on quarantine for a while, so I'm actually used to it.
Yeah.
But I just got back in business not too long ago.
Cool.
I actually run 3 YouTube channels.
Huh. Wow, that's cool.
That's great.
So I'm doing pretty good there. And I'm currently trying to develop 3 webcam horror movies, or maybe 4 of them.
Uh-huh. Cool.
Like an anthology, if anyone out there is interested in joining in. We're still coming up. We got one of them. We're still coming up with the other 3.
Uh-huh.
We're keeping busy over here.
Cool.
And so, yeah, we're doing pretty good there. And I actually have a friend out in Los Angeles. I do frequently try to get to Los Angeles. I stay over at the Sportsman's Lodge in Studio City.
Oh, cool.
And I have a friend out there. She has a bunch of tapes from someone we work with, well-known television show. I'm not going to name drop.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to digitize them.
Huh.
So would the table be someone I could contact
on
the table for that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, there'll be people who can point you the right way. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Because I don't even know what format they're in now. But this show was in the 1990s.
Yeah.
So.
It's really interesting because back then, having worked in TV back then, it was very interesting because generally when I started in television, you would basically be shooting on film and then you'd be posting, digitally. You'd be posting on video. And so like with a show, for instance, like Deep Space Nine or something, or Babylon 5 particularly, the problem was they shot on film, but they did their VFX digitally. So those things are in SD essentially. And so upgrading them is very, 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 very difficult. Some shows, from that period, you can, they've cleaned them up. They make them look really, really good now, and they're terrific. Other shows look like crap. It just depends often how much money and how much love there is put into it in restoring it. And, so that's part of it. But if anytime you have a film master, that helps a lot. For instance, when I was producing the Twilight Zone Blu-ray set, I mean, when they put those things into a high resolution master, they looked spectacular because they were going right off the 35 millimeter negative, and those were it was just astonishing what it looked like.
I have experience in film cleaning and digitization, but I can't really help her if I'm over here. And she's over there.
Yeah.
And this is a well-known cult following show.
Great.
But from everything I understand, it's probably shot in Betamax.
That's interesting. Well, yeah. So yeah, so absolutely, the table would definitely have somebody who could point in the right direction.
I'll let her know,
Great.
and then I'll see about meeting up with her.
Probably Beta Cam, not Beta Max.
Beta Cam, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. But the interesting thing is that there was a Writers Guild strike about maybe, I guess, 5 or 10 years ago, and this is and they did, and they did something very interesting. All the dramas prior to that, most of the network dramas were shot on film. They switched over to digital because the rules governing that were different. They fell under, I think, AFTRA rather than SAG. There was a really interesting, strange little thing that happened, but that's why all the TV shows, all the dramas, everything now is shot digitally. None of it is shot on film. And so that was a big transition. There are a few features still being shot on film, but most aren't. Most are shot digitally. But the problem, of course, with digital is no one knows how robust or long-lived the digital is as a medium. You know, with safety film that'll last maybe 100 years if you're lucky. But who knows what anything we're doing now on digital is how long that's gonna last. I mean, we can't.
The format changes so often; it's hard to play old videos.
Well, the funny thing is, as a writer, because I came into TV just as we were switching to computers, the safety version of any script I've written is the paper version, because I can't go back with a 5-inch floppy or whatever, and I can't go back to a KPro 2. So I make sure that I have file copies of the paper version, because it's impossible to access it any other way. So that's pretty crazy. So anything else you need, Casey?
Nothing off the top of my head right now. If anybody has any good horror scripts that involve a webcam, please send them my way.
Well, that's interesting. Sure, and that's something where one could put an email out to the table with that kind of request, and get a lot of response, I'm sure. So yeah, absolutely.
I'll do that shortly, probably.
Yeah,
I told you last time. One of the last times we talked, I do need an email change, and I don't know who to send that to.
That's Tom Katz's. Tom Katz's is the one who won alerts, or Jeff Bryan, but yeah, either one of those. And so if you needed me to forward something, I could, so.
Okay, I'll see about sending that to you.
Cool, great, terrific, yay! So do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, OD Dillon again.
Hi, OD.
Asks, when is the novel for Space Command anticipated to be released?
Soon.
And will there be an autograph?
Soon. It's going to be very soon. I mean, Maya Bonhoff has essentially finished the novel. We have to make sure that the few names that have to be in it via perks are. And but we'll call Maya, and the cover's done. Pretty much all we need to do is put it together and make it available. So yeah, that's something I've been talking to David Bartlett about, and it's just a matter of making it happen. So in terms of a signing, if the pandemic ends, yeah, we can arrange a signing. Sure, that'd be fun. I'd love that. So great. So now I guess who's next? Emily, I guess you're next. Go for it. Are you there, Emily?
Emily Clark, are you there?
The dogs. Well, I guess Emily's maybe stepped away for a minute. So how about you? Is Jenny Brundage? Dogs. Come on, cut it out. Okay, go for it.
Okay, I'm muted.
Hi.
I'm Jenny Brundage. I live in Arizona, but through the power of technology, I'm here.
Go for it.
I do a little writing, little acting, crew stuff, whatever. And what I have to offer is, if you need help with something, ask me. I'm good at networking. I might know somebody. I mean, obviously the table, you all know each other, but I might know somebody outside of the table with some kind of idea or some kind of connection there. Or, and what I'm here actually to ask.
Yes.
My first podcast on my Tascam Zoom H6, and I can't get my MacBook Pro to recognize the Tascam Zoom H6, and I used the cable that it came with it, plus what do you call it? The converter thing, so that it'll plug into the Mac. And I just wondered if anyone could tell me how to do that, because I keep looking it up, and the videos and whatnot are not answering whatever the specific issue seems to be. Okay.
Well, Tascam is different from Zoom.
It's owned by Tascam, isn't it?
My understanding is the Tascam is a different device than the Zoom.
Okay, it's this thing.
Mm.
The H6.
Okay. Yeah, I wish I could help you, and I'm planning on using mine. I have a Zoom, but I haven't. I keep using my lavalier mic instead.
But again, one can send an email to the table. Also, there's this amazing invention called Google, and you can actually type in questions, and they actually answer.
Oh no, I've spent hours, and I've watched hours of video, and none of it seems to.
Yeah.
Nigel, there's a guy called Gary somebody, and it's macmost.com.
Mac what?
Macmost.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just throw him an email, and he'll give you the answer.
Great.
Thank you.
He knows everything about Macs.
Oh, cool.
Okay, thank you. Because I think it might be a Mac issue, and a lot of the stuff I'm looking up is giving me advice for a PC. Thank you.
I see. Anything else, Jenny?
Nope. Have a good day.
Yay. 3 cheers. So, Adam, any more Mr. Sci-Fi questions?
Just Kabuki Kid writes, would you quickly explain the photos behind you, which I think we've covered in previous ones, but if you want to go for it.
I love to collect signatures and letters and signed photos of people I admire, and so you got a signed letter from Gene Roddenberry behind me. We've got a letter Kurt Vonnegut wrote me. We've got Anita Luce, who wrote Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, with a signed playbill. Patty Chayefsky, Studs Terkel. Some of them I've met personally, like Studs Terkel, and others are just ones that I acquired in my travels. It's just, the people I admire. It's a nice reminder of the tradition of good writing and so forth. So, that's what it is. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So
he also says he really loves your Spider-Man comics.
Yes. That loves the Space Command comic T-shirt. Yeah. It's fun. It's very fun. So great. So Rufino, why don't we hear from you? Go for it. Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Hi.
Yeah, there you go.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Hello, my name is Rufino. I'm an actor, writer, musician. I've been with the table for, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years or so. I really not really looking for anything. Oh, for the person that was asking about submissions and self-tapes. Yes, Instagram is a great source. Also, Actors Access. You might want to try there, because check out the breakdowns, and it should say open call or virtual call, and follow the instructions. And it will not, since we're all under quarantine, it's not going to cost you anything to submit if you're not a Showfax member, because I think you need to be a Showfax member to submit on an unlimited basis with a price per year. But at any rate, this question, maybe it's for you, Mark.
Sure.
About the writing process. Now, I went to go see Jon Favreau talk. At this time, Jon Favreau was talking about, he showed us the Jungle Book.
Yeah.
And he was asked if there was a book that he could recommend to anybody.
Yeah.
What book on the topic of writing would it be? And he said, he named a book called The Writer's Journey by Christopher Vogler, who was
I don't agree. I don't agree.
I guess he was a story consultant for Disney for a few years. So my question to you is, what book would you recommend, and what is your process on that?
Sure. Yeah. Well, Twilight Zone Companion, of course, is great. Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. I'm joking. These are 2 books I wrote.
Plug.
Yes.
Oh, you can. Wait. Oh, there we go.
There we go. Yeah, there it is. I can see it. So, the real answer is, frankly, I started selling scripts before I ever read a book on how to write scripts. I read scripts by terrific writers and learned how to do it. I mean, it was, I was reading scripts from Star Trek and Twilight Zone and so forth. In terms of books that I would recommend, Adventures in the Screen Trade by William Goldman is good. It's a very good book, but it's not really going to teach you how to write. Let me think for a second. See, the problem with Chris Vogler is, George Lucas popularized Joseph Campbell's beliefs, theories that there was a commonality of the heroic journey and the heroic story, and they used that in Star Wars. The problem is that then other writers took that and ran with it, and you got a lot of really shitty scripts that had no internal life, no internal truth. And that's what Chris Vogler's about. It's the hero's journey, and it's just kind of reconstituted Joseph Campbell through the lens of the screenwriter, and I think it's just kind of crap myself. But that's just my opinion. I think the way you learn to write is you figure out what you want to say, and you figure out, and you study film, and you study TV, and you just break it down structurally, and you listen to characters, and you see why does something work and something else that's sort of a similar story doesn't work. What appeals to you and why. And then, but doing is the most important thing, because doing really forces you to make choices, and choices are what makes you a writer. You're determining, our job as fiction writers is to make an audience care about people who don't exist. Okay. Unless you're basing it on a true story or something, but most of us aren't. I mean, Mr. Spock doesn't exist. Sherlock Holmes doesn't exist. They're not real. But you're trying to fool an audience into feeling emotionally moved by these people, and so it's something that's a very. It's an honor, first of all, but secondly, it's also an art. There's an art to it, and it's like a magic trick, and so in terms of screenwriting books, Jesus, let me think. I mean, if I really kind of mull on it, I can probably come up with one or two that are good. But the one thing I would say is, it's better to read a book by someone whose work you admire than just some script guru who's guessing.
Like William, Butch Cassidy.
Well, one rule of thumb is the more they're giving you rules and saying, well, you have to have a plot point by this page, and you have to do this by that page, and all of this nonsense. They don't know. They're not hearing the music, okay? Because every single film that follows a certain structural rule, there's another film equally good that breaks that rule. So, the real answer is, Ray Bradbury said to me, "Don't look outward, look inward," and he was right. To find out what you want to talk about and make sure that you're conveying a story. You can't be lecturing. You can't be on a soapbox. You can't have characters just go on monologues. It can't be plot heavy. There's a million answers to this.
First shitty draft.
What? Oh yeah, and then Elaine says also, the first shitty draft. Ray used to talk about vomit then mop, which means you pour it all out and then you edit it, then you revise it. And that's true. I chose Ray Bradbury as my mentor, and Serling and Guillermo. It's like, I learned from people who know what they're doing, and they're great teachers. They're very well worth studying in depth, so that's sort of, my response to that, and then if you want to be a good director, collaborate with Elaine, because, it's like she makes it a lot easier for me to be a director. It has to come alive.
I have a little bit of a question there. I'm sorry to interrupt.
I'm trying to see who's talking. Oh, Jennifer, is that?
Jennifer.
Yeah, they go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Does Elaine teach directing?
She has sometimes, but right now we're so busy we're not teaching at all, basically.
Okay.
Because it's just we have so many projects on our plate. But Elaine. Elaine, sometimes one can get very, very simple and very important lessons from Elaine. The key thing is...
Oh, I just did tonight.
Well, sure. The key thing is, do I believe it? Do I believe it? And is it interesting? So you'll watch an actor. It's like, do I believe it? And it's such a subtle thing. And it's like, do I believe it? And do they make me interested in what they're going through? It's fascinating. When you see brilliant actors, it's just astonishing what they're doing, and really remarkable. so yeah, so anything else, Rufino?
That is it.
Yay!
That's it.
3 cheers. So Adam, do we have any more Mr. Sci-Fi questions?
Hold on. Sorry.
Uh-oh.
Let's see. I think.
Hey, Adam. Hey, Adam.
Yes.
Adam Sartain.
Yes.
I have a couple of people now. They're wondering how they can get on there to make a Mr. Sci-Fi question. Do you mind running that by people quickly?
Oh yeah, that's
They don't know how to do it.
on Mark. They don't. Do they have YouTube?
I don't know.
Can go to YouTube.
They need to know the steps.
For the live chat?
Well, first you go to youtube.com. Well, first you turn on your computer. You open up your web browser.
First you buy
you
a
go
computer.
to youtube.com.
Oh, well, let me answer this just because people might not be aware that we're doing a live stream at 2 different sources. So we're doing the table, our regular weekly table meeting via Zoom, but I also have my Mr. Sci-Fi YouTube channel doing a live stream. So if you actually want to ask questions via Mr. Sci-Fi, just go on to Mr. Sci-Fi onto my YouTube channel, and you'll see that we have a live stream going now, and you can go onto the chat and type in questions. So there we are. So is there a question, Adam, from Mr. Sci-Fi?
Which you would go to. I'm trying to. It's mostly just chatting amongst each other.
That's nice. I'm glad that they're making friends.
We got a real community happening here.
Yeah,
amidst your chat here. So this is great.
No, it's like the Borg. So okay, great. So Jennifer, I guess it's your turn.
Me?
Yeah, go for it.
Am I still unmiked?
Yes, you are. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, Mike. Sorry. So first of all, thank you so much. You guys are both so inspiring.
Thanks.
I loved Elaine's acting lesson and a lot of other things she said, and then what you said also, especially about the interactions during this time and how interesting it is.
Yes.
And I just think that's totally true. For me, myself, I'm an actor predominantly. I'm also a writer. I only say that because I am a writer. I had a column, my own column on an online magazine, and I have a feature script, and I've written a short. And what else? I'm really super busy right now for one of the reasons why people have been talking about a lot on this call, which is that casting directors and agents are just taking tapes like crazy. It's crazy. It's so massive. So I've been very busy with that. Last night I made a 1-minute film to be submitted to a casting director's quarantine 1-minute film festival on Instagram.
Cool.
And you had to make it all with your phone. And it was really fun. I had several ideas, and then it ended up being something totally different than I wanted because I didn't have the expertise or technology to do what I wanted. But what I did was more character driven as an actor. So that was great.
Wow.
Cool. And I'm really excited about all that. I do have another question.
What was the casting director?
Twinkie Bird. Twinkie Bird.
Okay, cool. But what was your question?
My question is, what do you have from Patty Chayefsky?
Oh, let me look up. It's a framed photo and then a framed signature. So it's because he for those who don't know, Patty Chayefsky was one of the great writers of the live era of television in the 50s, TV drama. He wrote a great piece called Marty that was about a lonely butcher who's meets a woman, and it's a great story. It was done live on TV with Rod Steiger, and then it was done as a movie starring Ernest Borgnine, who did a great job, and he actually won the Oscar. The film won an Oscar for Best Picture, and he won an Oscar for Best Performance. And so seeking those out, particularly the Ernest Borgnine one, well worth doing. And then Patty Chayefsky left television and started writing Broadway plays and then movies, and his style changed radically, and he wrote a great movie called Network that at the time.
That's what I know about is the plays.
Yes. Well, Network was a satire on TV, and yet television has so devolved in the years since that when you watch it, when it first came out in the 70s, it was a satire, and saying, oh well, they never have anything happen like that. Now it's just like what TV is. So it's a movie well worth seeking out. It's a terrific film, and Peter,
oh no, I've seen that.
Yeah. Peter Finch won the Oscar for it. So so anything else?
Well, my 1 minute film that I made, and then also I launched yesterday a YouTube talk show called Brighter. And actually, Mark, it's not there, but I'm thinking that I would like to interview you two on there because Brighter is all about people who are making the world a brighter place.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Well, that's yeah, I think that's good.
And look what you're doing here, bringing us all together.
Yes.
And you have for decades.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that would be a very interesting story to tell.
Yes.
So I launched the show.
Great.
Yesterday on YouTube, and also as a podcast on SoundCloud.
Great. That's great. Well, again, it becomes, one really has to say to oneself, what can I do to make the world better? And often people think you have to change the world and lead millions of people and all that stuff. You don't. You just have to. I believe in bloom where you're planted. It's sort of like be the change you want to see. And so I just decided, 27 years ago that I wasn't going to complain about Hollywood. I was going to create an opportunity for people to be the Hollywood that I wanted to have, the Hollywood I wanted to live in, which was supportive and authentic and joyful and oriented toward creating work rather than complaining about why one wasn't getting A, B, C, or D, and just being positive. It's very interesting because my mom was very, very upbeat and very positive. My dad was very dark and very negative and very sarcastic. And my parents divorced when I was 3. And so I got to see both of those worldviews in active motion in the world. And I have both of those in my nature. I can be extremely negative internally, but I made a conscious choice to not be that in my external life. And so I've very deliberately taken a stand for what I want the world to be. And
are you still in contact with them now?
Well, both of them sadly have passed away, but I've written about both of them extensively. And but my mother, I was raised by my mom, and then my dad had various other marriages, and I would, he had visitation, and I would go stay with my second family in Orange County, and I grew up as a single child in LA. So which both experiences were great, but I'm very glad I was not raised by my father, because I would be a very different person if I had been. So yeah, but again, my mother was very compassionate, and she came from a very, very damaged childhood, but managed still somehow to be a beacon. And I saw her inspiring others and being compassionate and having a huge effect on many, many, many people. So yeah. So anything else, Jennifer?
Wow. One other thing.
Sure.
I'm very confused about what the orientation of my camera should be, because it looks like everyone's horizontal.
Yeah.
But when I turn my camera horizontal, then everyone else is this way.
Yeah. That's I don't have an answer for that. It's you look fine now.
Does anyone have an answer?
Are you recording right now?
No, I'm not recording. I'm on my phone.
Well,
I know you're on your phone. If you were to turn it off and then turn it landscape shape and then turn it back on, it might fix that problem.
Yeah. Or whatever.
It wants to hang on to its orientation. It wants to keep that way for you because it thinks it's helping you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think the key from Deliverance is right.
For that.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Sorry, I was turned off there for a second. Hi.
Great. Okay, cool. Great. Thank you, Jennifer. So anything else from the Mr. Sci-Fi folks? Adam? Oh, you're muted. There you go.
There we go. I'm good.
Okay, cool.
Also pro tip, guys, you can, if you hold down your space key, it'll temporarily unmute you for as long as you hold it down.
Great.
And then when you let go of it, it remutes you.
How cool.
Of course, that doesn't work when you're in the chat. So anyway, I have a question. Oh, first off, O.D. Dillon wants to pass on his heartfelt thanks for you and your Space Command crew for creating such believable characters as Robert Picardo's character and Doug Jones's character.
Thanks. Well, thanks a lot. I mean, I'm very proud of what we've accomplished. I think, these are characters that are much more fully rounded than characters you often see in science fiction. I think they're people you want to take the journey with, and the new episode is very much an experiment in terms of doing a very different kind of episode. We'll see if it works. I like what we're seeing so far, but again, we're right out there on the high wire. So, but we shall see. But again, there's nothing wrong with taking chances. There's nothing wrong with overreaching. It's like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and then it's on to the next thing, or you improve the one you have, So I think people are far too worried about what other people will think or not being good enough, and it's like, nah, just Ray Bradbury had a sign over his typewriter that I now have on my computer, and it says, "Don't think, do." And I strongly believe that. So I guess, Paul, you're heading out. Okay, bye, Paul. See you later. Take care. Yay. So I guess, Carrie, you're up.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Quick, very quick question.
Yeah.
Kabuki Kid, she writes, have you seen the stills from the upcoming Dune movie?
Yeah.
And do you know anything about production on that?
Well, Denis Villeneuve is a very, very good director. I mean, he did The Arrival, he did Blade Runner 2049. He's got a terrific eye. I wasn't that impressed with the art design that I've seen so far in Dune. I think it looked, I think it's rather underwhelming. David Lynch's version had some terrific images. It was a very flawed movie in many ways, but it also had its strengths. I will see. I mean, I'll reserve judgment until we see the film. That ultimately will tell the story. But if anyone doesn't know about this, originally Alejandro Jodorowsky was going to do a version of Dune that never got made, but was hugely influential on movies like Alien and all sorts of stuff, and Blade Runner. And so if anyone, there's a documentary on it called Alejandro Jodorowsky's Dune, and I highly recommend that as a documentary to watch. So Carrie, you're up. Go for it.
Hi, I'm Carrie. I'm an actress in LA, and I've been keeping busy with lots of self-tapes and doing little 48-hour film challenges.
Cool.
And I was cast in a web series that's going to be filmed during quarantine, so that's exciting.
Cool. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, just if anyone hears of any more casting director open calls or anything,
sure.
I would love for you to share them. I've been following lots of new casting directors on Instagram, so just looking for them.
Cool. That sounds good. Well, yeah. Oh, so I don't know if anyone has any recommendations about casting calls and so forth.
Any recommendations there? I don't know if Mark mentioned it, but please forgive my absence. Our dogs were starting to sniff about suspicion.
Well, we definitely missed you.
Thank you.
That's good. Yeah. So great. So
I'd be interested to hear about how you guys are finding which casting directors are doing open calls or which casting directors are looking at videos, and if people are aware of those particular casting directors, could you put it on the table's website,
sure,
or on the chat here? Oh yeah,
I could probably
on the email.
I would say Instagram.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
If you get on Instagram, it's just happening.
Yeah, I can get on Instagram, but I mean, how would I?
It's really been a hodgepodge.
Because it's like, Instagram, saying, jump in the ocean here and see what's there. I mean, I don't know how to find the dolphins in the middle of all the other fish.
if I may interject for a little bit,
you can search hashtag casting or
okay.
And
yeah. Or like I said, Actors Access. I do have the names of maybe 2 or maybe 3. There's some that had a self-tape monologue challenges that are already expired. They were due last Friday, I think. But there are a few that are due at the end of the month. So maybe you could, if you me an email or something, or I don't really know how to work the table.
Yeah, if you just put a couple of names up on email, that would be helpful for anybody. I mean, not just for me, because there's plenty of us here who are actors.
Yeah. Even in the chat, if you can put it in the chat, that'd be great.
Sure.
Yeah. We'll do that.
Great. So, anything else, Carrie?
That's it for me.
Yay! 3 cheers. Okay, great. So, Billy and Shy, it says. So go for it, guys.
Hey, everybody. Perfect timing. Actually, I've been sitting here by myself. We had an overlapping Zoom meetings happening right now. So Shy was in the other room doing that. She literally just opened the door and walked in right now. Perfect
okay, great.
Hello.
There.
Hi. Wait, let me get her off the. I'm gonna press now.
Okay.
Okay. So I am Billy. This is my wife, Shy. We're intertwined a little bit. I'm a musician by trade. She is an actor, writer, director, producer, jack of all trades. I have been reworking my VO reel. I have a kind of a professional home studio setup that I work out of, and I've been taking this time to update some of my reel and some other things, submitting musical things. So if anybody's got projects or knows of anyone with projects that are needing scores or soundscapes or soundtracks or whatever, do it all of that kind of stuff. We are currently.
You got a website, Billy? You got some place people can hear things?
I'm also kind of rebuilding that as well. I've had a portfolio of things that were kind of outdated. So I've been working on that to get it going. I do have I work under a number of different musical aliases. So I would have to kind of compile everything and put them together. But once it's done, I will do. Right now, it's a SoundCloud thing that I've got working, but it's not really ready for consumption again quite yet.
Oh, not the SoundCloud either.
There's music up there, but it's not any sort of portfolio thing. But it's
what's your handle on SoundCloud?
It's called Sale Hayton. ILHATAN.
Can you spell that? SAIL.
Correct. And then HATAN.
Yeah, that's funny. So cool.
And it's a little runs the gamut. There's some real heavy stuff. There's some soundtracky stuff. There's some pretty stuff. It's a little bit of everything. Like I said, I've kind of been throwing everything in there to compile. I was a professional touring guitar player and musician for a long time. I've placed things in major motion pictures, some commercials for Mitsubishi, and I did the sound bed for an old Nuclear Cowboys tour, which is like a motocross
cool
stunt show thing that happened. Blah blah blah.
That's great.
But so that's my main thing. But Shy and I are also involved writing a script of our own of some things that ideas we've been coming up with and kind of talking about working together in different capacities. We just started taking this, advantage of this time to start to do that. And also working on trying to figure out how to actually, I'll let Shy take over now because she has created and written and is pretty well underway with a show that she spoke about last week, her show South of Sanity, and I know she had some technical questions on kind of ways to film, how we could go about getting things done with actors who are not obviously in the same place and kind of spread all over the country,
right?
And see about trying to do a quarantine kind of season as well.
Yes. So go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So one of my questions is, like, if I'm writing in, which I don't know if this is just a question in general. Like, if I'm putting in some flashback scenes from like a season that I shot like a few years ago, do I need to go back to those actors who are not going to be in this season and have them re-sign a release? Or re-sign something, some SAG paperwork?
It depends on if you're selling it or what you plan to do with it. I did, in terms of SAG, did you have SAG paperwork with them previously?
Yeah.
And under what contract? SAG New Media?
It was the New Media.
Yeah. David Bartlett, David, do you know anything about that? Do you want to chime in on that? I don't know if you're listening. Did you hear that question, David?
You should probably just call SAG.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because I definitely have to I have to do the paperwork for this season as well. And I'm like, well, I'm not paying anyone. And they said, well, you have to do deferred no matter what, because it's illegal if you don't. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
so
I mean, again, if you want to cross your T's and dot your I's, yes, you can do that. That's definitely worth doing.
It's better to do it. They can be, a SAG was reasonable. SAG-AFTRA was not very reasonable. And so, but if you just do it up front, they do walk you through and coach you through a lot of stuff. So if you just ask the question, they can help you.
Yeah. So other questions?
But they can shut you down if you do it wrong.
Well, yeah, but what other questions?
Yeah. Okay. So since we're doing a lot of this, like, say, video chatting things, right? So I guess it's a technical question, more to help the editor. But in general, when you have the actors, I know that you can tape a Zoom call, right? You Zoom it and it can be taped.
Yes.
But is that the right format that you need? Is that a widescreen format, or would that end up being a widescreen format?
Yeah, but it's such low resolution, Shai. I think you'd be better off faking it, recording it even on an iPhone. You can have the Zoom call off to the side to have the communication.
Yes.
But just record it on an iPhone on each side.
Yes.
So just record, just basically talk to yourself, recording yourself, and then.
No, I mean, you could say, if you're going to be doing a conversation between two people in two locations, set it up. You can set up a Zoom call or whatever kind of communication you have, but just have your phone recording it independently.
In other words,
of the computer.
So in other words, you're using Zoom so you can have your scene partner in this, working with you, but you record it on a higher resolution medium. So you record it on your iPhone or whatever, or, again, what we're doing with the Space Command episode that we're doing during the pandemic is we're saying to our actors, use whatever the highest quality recording medium you have is. So in that case, it might be an iPhone 11, it might be a computer, it might be someone might have a 4K camera. It's sort of like, just choose the best medium, but always shoot horizontal. That's the most important thing. Do not have any, unless you want it to be literally someone's calling on their phone and you want it to look like it's a phone call. But if you want to have it be close to the correct format, shoot horizontal. But Dave, of course, is, I mean, the real answer to all this stuff is just roll with it. I mean, it's because more important than the format or any of that stuff is what's the content, and is it entertaining? That's the main thing, and then you just kind of figure out how to make it work as best you can. I think people are going to be more forgiving during the pandemic because they know that nobody's out there with 100 people crew and shooting, blowing up buildings or anything. So yeah, best efforts.
And keep in mind that the stuff we're shooting now on the Space Command episode, we're usually doing, just round up numbers. We're usually doing 24 frames a second, but cell phones are generally 30.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. You're just going to have a different frame.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you be looking in the wrong direction if you're actually, say, Zooming or FaceTiming with someone and then you're filming it with
Well,
your phone?
you have to play to the camera that's the recording medium that you're going to be using. So in other words, and it depends. I mean, for instance, if you're shooting it as if you were shooting coverage, then you just make sure that the recording medium is the angle that you want for the shot. On the other hand, if you're doing it as like they're talking to the camera directly, then yes, they play to the camera that you're shooting with, and you're just not playing to the person on the phone. You're listening to them and pretending that you're seeing them on the camera that you're shooting with. It's just, all of this stuff is just stuff you figure it out, and yeah.
And also
technically have you could technically have like a Zoom, not Zoom, but video chat conference with 3 people if you wanted to, because it doesn't matter. You're going to just edit it together.
Yes. I mean, again,
and also keep in mind that a lot of times we've even had this issue. If I'll get just closer to the screen here. I'm looking at the screen now, and now I'm looking at the camera, which is usually a little dot off to the side.
Right.
And a lot of times it just doesn't look right if you don't have the eye line correct, because you're looking at yourself or the other person on the screen, but you really should be looking up here.
Right. But again, best efforts. It's sort of like they're not going to send you to like artistic prison for fucking it up. So
it does break concentration.
I just wanted to say, you mentioned frame rate, and if you have, I think, an iPhone 7 or 8 or later, you can switch it to shoot in 4K at 24 frames per second.
Wow. They built that in now. Yeah,
wow.
I have it as an app, but I'm glad to know it's built in.
That's cool. That's very cool. Okay.
So the quality of it, even if your intention is to show a Zoom meeting, like that's actually in the scene is a Zoom meeting, the quality would still be better if you actually filmed that Zoom meeting from your iPhone, not take the recording of the scene from the Zoom meeting.
You can always knock down the quality. You can always knock down good quality. You can't bring up lousy quality as easily.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Cool. Yay.
And I guess one more question.
Sure, you bet.
Now we released like a certain amount of the webisodes that we did in the show last year.
Yes.
But then we haven't released the rest of them.
Okay.
We're going to in like a few weeks.
Okay.
Should that copyright say this year, or should that copyright say the same year as the other webisodes that we already released?
I don't know. It's not a vital importance. I mean, the main thing is to have a copyright on it. The year is not a big deal. I mean, just,
Well, it is to the degree that you want to prove that you were the first person with the stuff out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I usually think of copyright as when the thing is officially released or officially airs. That's the year that the copyright should be. We
usually have 2 copyrights. You copyright the written material,
and then the film itself.
And then the film itself.
Yeah.
And of course, either is important because that's what you sell.
But again, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If you're not intending to try to market or to sell it, I mean, again, like for instance, when I post a Mr. Sci-Fi video, I'm not copywriting it. I don't care. It's a thing of the moment. Whereas with Space Command, yes, we copyright it, because that's an intellectual property that I plan to generate revenue from.
But there's no date on it.
No, but that was deliberate because it has a shelf life. You don't want the people you're submitting it to say, oh, well, this was made in like 2016 or whatever, because then actually, well, this is old news. And so you have to find the way to make them think that it's something you're doing now and it's fresh and it's current. I mean, it's always a balancing act. I mean, like with the Magic Time novels, those came out in the early 2000s. And, when they ask if I'm pitching that as a series and they ask when they came out, then I have to be honest. But if they don't ask, I don't say, well, these are things that were done 15 years ago, because, that's a negative. And so, yeah. So anything else?
Okay.
Yay!
Yeah.
So
Yay.
right.
Thanks.
So,
Thank you.
You bet. So Adam, are there any more Mr. Sci-Fi questions?
Yes. We've got another question from Mark Lungo.
Sure.
Who asks, would you mind discussing the films you made with Neil Johnson?
It's not something I'd really rather talk about right now, but thanks for the question.
Yeah.
So I'll be politic. So let's see, who's next? I guess that's Suzanne. I guess you're next, Suzanne? Suzanne's iPhone Plus? No? Suzanne, can you unmute? Suzanne, can you unmute? You need to unmute so we can hear you. There you go.
You
You got it. Yeah, Susanna.
Hi.
Hi.
Susanna.
Hi. Oh.
Of course, like a big disaster when this all happened. Sorry. All right.
There you go.
Technology, right? Okay. Sorry about that.
That's fine.
Hi, everybody. Okay, I'm an actress, writer, producer. Let's see. I got a few things. Casey, I'd love to have your email, maybe talk to you about some YouTube stuff and your horror webcam things.
Cool.
Just put that there. I can give you my email too. And since we're all like at home, for years, I was a stand-up comedian and went on the road, did a lot of shows all over. And I have a lot of routines, but I have a lot of one-liner jokes about being a wife, a mom, that kind of crazy life. So they kind of all have a theme, and they worked pretty good on. They worked good on stage. They were a section of my act, not the whole thing. So I've always thought about putting them in a book, and so now I'm kind of finding them all and putting them quote in a book. So I'm doing that. And I've got a little cooking show that I've started on YouTube. I already have a YouTube channel. It's Susanna Brown Comedy. And I also have on Facebook, I have the same thing. But it's a cooking show about a bad cook.
Yeah, that's fun.
I put up my first episode. I film it live, or that's what I'm doing right now. And obviously my audience is my family, my kids. And so I did film something on Easter Sunday, and it was kind of like, I've done these before and kind of put out little things, but I'm like making a little show now. And I literally I was making French toast and I dropped the bread in the batter, like the whole. So I didn't plan that just happened. I was like, they just rolled. So anyway, my kids are filmed, we got the camera set up. So I've got that if anybody wants to look at my first episode. They're little micro episodes. There's 6 minutes was this. So and that's it. I can cook. It's luckily I have some good recipes from like my mom and my grandmother, but I'm not like a great cook. I'm not, you'll see, super organized. It's a little funny.
So is there anything you need?
I don't.
Okay,
well,
great.
Welcome.
Free cheers. Yay. Good to see you.
If you could email the table with a link to your either your YouTube channel or the one of your episodes.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah,
Terrific.
I'll do that.
Great. Adam.
I think that
go
put
ahead.
it in the chat as well.
Great. Terrific. That's great. Thanks, Susanna. Adam, is there another question from Mr. Sci-Fi?
Yeah, we've got another question from Kabuki Kid. She asks, did you have a favorite Twilight Zone episode from the Jordan Peele?
I haven't seen the end of the season. I understand there's a good one toward the end of the first season. I just kind of, got too tired of it and stopped watching. So, that's so I wouldn't really want to opine on that. I've done Mr. Sci-Fi reviews of a lot of the Jordan Peele Twilight Zone episodes. So, you can go and check those out. And yeah, it was a mixed bag, but I was very disappointed ultimately in that show. So let's see. So Lisa, I guess you're next. So go for it.
Hi guys. I love your vomit then mop.
Yes. Yeah.
I've been doing that my whole life. So let's see. I'm a singer-songwriter, a composer. I just did a music video called Invisible Me, and really good, and I think it's timely. It's not necessarily about what it was originally intended to be, but I think a lot of people are out there feeling invisible, so it'd be good for something. I'm uploading a new album soon, so you can look on Apple or Spotify. Lisa Sclover.
Great.
Years and years of stuff. So I'm trying to figure out ways, if you suggest, for TV shows and series, to get more of my music out there, because it's really social justice, environmental, and country, all kinds of stuff.
Well, again, people are all at home and they're all bored out of their minds, and so if you just target shows that use music and use original music, and just track down who the showrunner is, who the music supervisor is, and reach out to those people. I mean, it's amazing who you can find on social media, and you can get questions to them, and you can say, hey, I wrote this music, I love your show, this is what I stand for, I'd love it if you could check it out. They will probably do it because they want something to entertain them. It's like, I always try to seize the opportunity, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but when it works, it's great. There was an actor who is one of the lead villains on The Expanse, and his name just rang a bell, and I suddenly realized after a while that he had been the lead in a play that Elaine did a reading of about 30 years ago. And so I just reached out to him on social media, and I said, are you this guy who was starred in Elaine's play all that time ago? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, we'd really like to work with you again. And he said, yeah, I'd like to work with you guys again. So we're going to see if there's a way to put him in Space Command. But, he's one of the noted actors on The Expanse. It's like, cool. But he was really easy to reach out to. It was
and I think
simplicity.
people like it when you actually call them or reach out to them directly.
Yes. If you make it personal, because no one likes to feel that they're just part of a list that's been, and that you're just kind of sending spam to. If you make it personal, then you have a greater chance of succeeding. So yeah, absolutely. So any other questions? Anything else?
I do a few other things. So
sure.
I have a podcast. It's podcasts and pod babies, I call them. Pod babies are me either doing music or little insights. So I've been a therapist for 25 years, and especially with creative artists, and worked at Canyon Ranch Spa for 12 years, brought integrative therapy. So I combine environmentalists, healers, and artists on the podcast. And so I'm trying to do the pod babies as my own little way to express my insights. And so I'm right now it's audio, but also I'm going to try to do more video of them.
Great.
In order just to get, I'm getting some really named people, so interviews. So I feel that that's a way to get things out there, but just some ideas for that. And so I went to Northwestern, the other thing. So that's one thing, and I would love to interview you guys. That would be amazing. And I went to Northwestern for acting, and I was an actress in film and television in LA for a long time, and focused on my music career. So I kind of left it aside, but there's a part of me that really, really wants to get back to it. So, but I feel like I don't really know how things are done as much. I have new headshots and everything, but in terms of everything is reels, and I don't want to use all my old stuff, obviously. So any ideas for how to kind of relaunch myself with the acting and the music in film and TV out there?
Well, in terms of relaunching yourself, I mean, self-tapes are now very, very popular. What you really need is a new, as you say, you want a new reel. So I would suggest you do it like doing a self-tape, and just do one or two short scenes that really show your best work, what you can do now.
Like this new music video is really professionally, really good.
Well,
really
that's great. I hope it has a song on it called Cabin Fever.
That's funny.
No, but I just wrote a song called "I'm Gonna Throw My Arms Around You," about like what I'm gonna do after I get out of here. So
that's great. Yeah. That's great.
But to answer the question a little more specifically, my thought is it always starts with the work, creating superlative work. So start with the work, create something that's going to be really interesting and really get people's attention, and then specifically target who you want to work with, who's done work that has spoken to you, and reach out to those people. So in other words, it's not about sending out 6,000 postcards to every imaginable person. It's it's like, be targeted, be specific, because that's going to give you a better chance, and so that's what I would recommend. So
that's a great idea. That's
yeah.
true, because I want to work on that show, and they need a therapist on that show, so I'd be perfect, like something like that.
Yeah.
Correct.
And again, remember that particularly with television, there is such a huge need for material, because if let's say you're doing 10 or 12 or 20 episodes a year, you can't, each week there's different actors that you need. Each week there's different music that you need. And if you present them an opportunity to use something that they can utilize, that they need, they're grateful. It's because that's a constant challenge. How do you come up with something fresh, and and not like, oh, okay, I've heard this a million times before, I've seen this a million times before. So that's what I'd recommend. So anything else, Lisa?
So where do you said something? So first of all, I'm with the New York table, so I need to kind of get connected to you guys. So where do you post? You mentioned about posting information about my musical, like where I could get information about theater. So where do you guys post?
There's a table email here that goes out to all the members, and so if you sent me a question about that, I could forward it to the people who sign people up. Sure.
Okay, yeah, I just need to know how to send things to you guys.
Yeah, markzickery@gmail.com, and then I'll make sure you get added to the list.
All right, and I'm offering free meditation. Like I'm kind of known in the meditation yoga world, so
cool.
Free meditation yoga classes for artists. So I don't know if that's something that you would put out there, but I'm just.
We have two lists. One is industry related, the other is life related. So that would be on the life related one rather than the industry related one. So yeah. Okay, 3 cheers! Yay! Any other questions, Adam, for Mr. Sci-Fi?
Yes, we do. Tom's Art Tom's Art, I don't know, but I'm assuming it's Tom's Art. He says, sci-fi depends on a lot of things that don't exist at all. When it comes to pitching stories, how important is having concept art or other art FX mock-ups? At what point do art and effects become relevant?
Well, if it's science fiction or fantasy, it's very relevant and very important. You just have to make sure it's good, because if you go, I've seen a lot of people go in with really shitty art, really substandard art, and that's going to just kill you. And so, like, for instance, Ian McCaig, who's one of the leading character designers in Hollywood with Star Wars and Guardians of the Galaxy and Harry Potter and Avengers, he's been my character design guy for 25 years. And so, and he's superlative. And we have a very solid friendship. So again, I always was looking for someone who was really, 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 really good, because it really, it makes a huge difference. So yeah, absolutely. So I guess Mark Gushwitz, you're next.
Oh wait.
Adam, did I step on that? I'm sorry. Did you have another thing to say?
Oh, no, I think the question was more along the timing of the art, but I think
from the beginning,
a very good point.
Anytime you're going to try and get attention on a science fiction project, art is very, very helpful. Yeah, absolutely.
There we go.
Yeah. Mark Goshewitz, go for it.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so my name's Mark. I'm an editor. A couple of things before I get to me, because my wife would kill me if I didn't mention the fact that if people are looking for face masks, she's a fashion designer and she is selling them on Etsy.
Wow.
If you go to Moonlight Serenade US, just do a search for Moonlight Serenade US.
Cool.
And she's selling tons of them if you still need them. I tried to chime in earlier for something that was talked about. So I want to say to Shai, who's sitting there, if you use your cell phone to film the scene, just stick the cell phone like in front of your computer screen. You're not filming the computer screen, you're filming you. So if it's kind of a little in the way, but it's in perfect view to film you perfectly, then you can just do that. And then you're looking at the screen where you're actors, but you're also looking towards the camera.
Great. Terrific.
And that might help.
Great.
Okay, so now one more person I wanted to put a shout out to. The guy who did sound on my short film that was recommended to me by Earl, who's over there in my on my screen. His name's John Taylor, and he did a great job on my film, but I recommended him on a job, and we got the footage. Last time I got footage from this client, it was a nightmare because the sound was so bad. And it's been such a pleasure working on this because he did an amazing job on the sound. He's a table member, and his name is John Taylor. So I want people to be aware that if you need a sound guy, this guy's really, really good at what he does.
Good. That's great.
So now to me. Okay, so I'm an editor. I've been working on this job that I was just talking about. So it's taken a lot of time away from my short film, but that's okay because I need money to pay my bills. But I do have a question regarding my short film that I meant to ask last week that I forgot. And so I'm opening my short film with 2 quotes. And one of them I know I don't have to worry about the rights to. It's from Night of the Living Dead, and the rights to Night of the Living Dead are pretty much open to anybody.
Yeah.
But if I use a quote from a book, the book's only like 10 years old. Is there rights issues to that if you put a quote on the front of your movie?
Yes. You'd want to get permission. If it was an older book like Dickens or Twain, you wouldn't have to worry about it. But if it's recent, yeah.
Even on a short where I'm most likely not going to sell it, I'm just kind of sending it out to festivals and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. If that's the case, probably it can fly under the radar. And you just have to be mindful that if the author pops up or the agent pops up or whatever and says, hey, either pay us or pull it, then just take it off the print. It's not, since it's digital, it's no big deal. So
it's just, I wanted to put the quote from the Night of the Living Dead up there, but it just kind of on its own, it just sits there. It doesn't work. So I needed another one that's a little bit more intellectual. And my producer, my AD, read me this great quote that is so perfect for my movie.
What's the quote?
It's I don't have the exact quote. It's along the lines of it's from a book called Alice in Zombieland, and it's along the lines of the dead are they're spending their nights looking for the thing they need most, life.
Okay.
Because they're killing people.
Right.
Taking their life. And when you see my movie, which after it's done, I will put a link up to everyone, it's very appropriate for my movie.
Cool.
So,
but sometimes we'll just be nice and give it to you. I asked Jules Pfeiffer years ago when he was still a very hot thing, if I could use some of his material. And I said it was for this kind of limited stuff. And I got a letter saying, sure.
Yeah.
What's the best way? Should I reach out to the publisher?
No, try and get to the artist.
Go to the artist. Most authors have websites that go directly to them. It says contact, so I would do that. I would do that.
I'll do that because it can't hurt. What she'll say is no, and then I just gotta go find something else. But,
just to chime in on that, it's always a good idea to ask.
Yeah.
Because and then say for instance, if the agent or manager does see it, it is technically copyright infringement. And you would be entitled to pay penalties, which can be quite high. Now, the likeliness of it going to court and people spending the time is quite little. But it would give you clear of mind. And just like Elaine said, if you contact the artist directly and you tell them what it's for, they'll be like, it's free promotion for them too. And just let them know, if this takes off, then I'll compensate you based on what you think is fair or whatever.
Well, the strange thing is I was so careful not to have anything in my movie that could get me into trouble like that. Like all the paintings on the walls are stuff that my mom had painted when she was alive stuff like that. So there's nothing that anybody could. And now I'd never thought about a quote on the front of anything before.
What's the author's name?
Hold on a minute. I can look it up really fast. Alice in Zombieland. Well, while I'm looking this up, so I'm not wasting people's time. So, like I said, I'm an editor, and I ran into a real issue in Premiere. So that was really, really hard for me to figure out. So I want to throw something out there to anybody who uses Premiere, because I looked online and so many people are having this problem. Basically, if you do a multicam project, which is because everybody's using Zoom right now, there's a good chance that you will. If you render your audio, you will lose all your waveforms. And just real simple. I spent hours figuring this out. don't render your audio, and you won't lose your waveforms. Not only will you lose, they look funny to you when you open up your project, you will lose them. And I called Adobe, they had no answers for me, nothing. So everybody's using Adobe, just be aware. When you export, it will render your audio your audio files, and it won't mess with your timeline.
Cool.
So I thought I'd send that out there. So once again, I'm an editor. I've been really kind of busy I was worried there was going to be no work, but I've got clients, I got work, so thank God for that. That's who I am. The author's name is Gina Showalter.
Okay, I don't know her, but if you email me, I can look her up on the Sephwa directory, because I'm a member of Sephwa, and her direct email will probably be there.
Yeah, I'm thinking about also emailing, Dale House, and he runs.
Yeah, oh sure. Oh yeah, Dell probably would have her contact also.
Yeah, he knows me because I'm in his store all the time. We talk all the time, so
that's great.
He might be a good person.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, he's a good guy.
But thanks for the suggestions, and because I wasn't going to call this person, but that's all I need is it playing a festival and it coming back to haunt me.
Well, see, the cool part is that, let's say for a moment she's thrilled that you're going to quote her. She can then put out the word about your short to her fans, and that can be very helpful. So
she might even ask to see it, which would be kind of
probably
cool,
she will. Yeah.
I've never read this book. It sounds interesting. I might read it, but my understanding is it's got a following. It's a whole series. So.
Wow, how fun! That's very fun.
So that's me. I'm an editor. I've been pretty busy. My wife's selling face masks. If you want to check those out, Moonlight Serenade US on Etsy, and that's it.
Yay! Three cheers. So, Adam, any more Mr. Sci-Fi questions?
Yeah, we've got piling up here. Kabuki Kid again asks, do you have a favorite old school science fiction artist? We were talking about art earlier, such as Vincent DeFate, John Berkey, Chelsea Bonestell, Ralph.
Yeah, well, I like the early Kelly Freas when he was doing covers for Astounding. And I also really like Ed Emshwiller a lot. I think he's a terrific, terrific artist. And in fact, his son has given us rights to use his designs in Space Command. So I'm thrilled about that. He's a terrific artist. Virgil Finlay was great. Frazetta's work for EC Comics was amazing. Al Williamson, Joe Orlando. I mean, there's a lot of really great artists particularly from the 50s who did science fiction covers and comic illustration and so forth. So it's an embarrassment of riches. So Judy Beecher, you're up. Oh. There you go. Yeah.
Hi. Yes, I'm muted. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you for calling on me, Mark. I'm so tired.
Sure, no, New York.
I have long days and it's midnight here. So.
Yeah. Wow.
Hi, everyone. I'm grateful to see all your faces. So I just wanted to check in. I've just been nonstop busy. This is like busy quarantine, and I'm trying to figure out how to do all my projects and use all my talents and things while we have this time, because it's this downtime, and I have so many different talents and things that I'm interested in. So every day I've been trying to find a time to fit in each one of these things, you know, and I'm learning to play guitar. I'm working on my voice because I'm a singer, but I don't have time to do all that. I'm an actress. I've been writing. I did a play slam. So I had 2 pieces in a play slam today that were performed. A short film that I wrote about quarantine were performed today by 2 actors, which I'm going to shoot the film as a film somehow during the quarantine. And act in it. I'll do the other part, and then I performed also a monologue that I wrote, which is going to be part of a 1-person show. And I've been writing every single day, through a class that I've been doing for this show. And I also I did a tally of auditions that I've had so far this year. So I've had 15. Which last year I had 12 the whole year. I had 12 the whole year, and I booked 4 of them out of the 12.
Great.
But this year already I've had a lot, and I've just been, it's been really creative, a really amazing creative time for me right now. And so I've been balancing all that, like the writing. I get up, I do 3 times a day. I do different types of writings, and then I work out myself as an actress, and balancing that with lots of meditation and dancing, and so it's just been very interesting. So time, and I've literally been on Zoom the entire day today. When I haven't been writing, I've been on Zoom. So right before this, I had a like a spiritual thing right before this, and meditation. So it's been like I haven't been off the computer, and we celebrated the last day of Passover today on Zoom through something, and so it's been nonstop Zoom stuff. And I want to try to create as well. Like I want to be able to do something where I can give back what I've learned, my talents, my things, and I'm trying to think of some platform. I was inspired. Laura, I think it was Laura or something. Who, she did her YouTube show, and I want to do some sort of a platform where I am putting myself out there daily, helping people who, with what I've learned. Because I feel like, I don't know, I'm in a really good place right now, and things are just coming to me. I'm just like manifesting stuff, and so I don't know if that could be like a YouTube, whatever. If it could be me putting films. I'm not quite sure what that is. Right now, but I want to be able to give back and
I mean, just study,
use what I have.
Right. You might want to look at podcasts and YouTube channels and see who's doing something that kind of resonates with you, and say, okay, let me see if I can, use that as kind of a template. And but again, a lot of this is just jumping in, doing stuff, seeing how it goes, seeing what works. I always try. As I mentioned earlier, I use a timer throughout the day when I can. Though there has to be a little wiggle room, because always there's going to be something that's like, okay, you got to do this right now, and it's going to take longer than you thought, and blah blah blah. But beyond that, I always get clear with everything I'm doing what I want it to accomplish, and I make sure that the things that have less reward to me, and that can be an emotional reward or it can be financial or both. Like Space Command takes a lot of time, but it has a lot of there's a big reason for me to do it, many reasons for me to do it. Mr. Sci-Fi, if it took me a week of 30 hours a week to make Mr. Sci-Fi, I wouldn't be doing it, because it just doesn't have enough return on it to make it worth doing. It has to be easy. So in other words, I walk the dogs, I can shoot it in like 5 minutes, I put it up, and bang, we're done. And so again, you have to just be very mindful of why you're doing what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish, and is it working? That's, and also it's very, the other thing I'll add, and then Lincoln mentioned her thing, is also super important, and this is very important to examine now, while that we're all in captivity, is to look at your old dreams that you're still pursuing, and I don't mean you specifically, Judy, I mean all of us, and say, is this a dream that still has meaning for me, or am I just kind of on automatic? And if it's something that really no longer means much or resonates, then you let it go. And so that's another thing for all of us.
But if you did do a podcast, because some people are flourishing, such as yourself, some people are getting kind of in the doldrums. And if you had a podcast that said something along the line of in the doldrums or in a rut, why don't you try and then do a little dance and say, this is what dancing will give you. Then do some music and say, this is what music will get you. Guitar, this is what learning something new and polishing it up will give you. And so if like in little tidbits in a podcast, you could say, if you're in a rut, you can do all of these things.
Yes.
And so it may be a little bit fun and inspiring. You say, well, you don't have to be in a rut. I mean, just like this table, people can fall into a rut, but then the people who are like still busy and doing stuff, and you say, wait a minute, why am I just sitting here?
Right. And, but absolutely. Anything else?
So it gave me I was walking around my area, and I just started to do a little I started to do a little Facebook Live thing while I was walking around, the area here. And somebody saw it and asked and wanted to interview me and wanted me to talk about, because I was giving tips to people as I was walking around
that's great.
of what I do because I have not been stressed. I have not been in this place. And it's because I'm doing all this stuff and not looking at the news and not, I'm just focusing on my creative and spiritual right now. I can't look at the news. And he's like, I want you to get you on my show and to talk about, you can talk about your acting, you can talk about your work, your filmmaking, but and talk and do that. And I was like, yeah, I should be doing this, like, because I have people that I have a following, and I should be doing this to even help the people in my circle and to end in a larger piece, because it's a very joyful place where I am right now. It's joyful. And why, I should be able to share that with other people who are not in such a joyful place. Who need that, like, little thing to switch them around, to make them, So that's where I got that. And also I was, a company called me a few days ago from France that I did a voiceover job with a number of years ago. And they want me to do a series of videos for them, 5 videos. And I've been trying to negotiate, it's been really challenging to kind of figure out, it's a they're trying to bid for a nonprofit.
Right.
They don't have the job yet. They're bidding for a nonprofit.
Right.
So I have to give them a number, a quote for what I would want for those 5 videos. That's not going to kind of knock me out of the
I got it.
park of getting the thing, because they don't even have the job yet. They're bidding for it. So I sent them a quote, and for me it felt like a lot. Like this tonight I sent them something, and I gave them a number, which I know if you're negotiating something, it's not great to be the first one to give a number, because then they can always go down from there. I gave them a low number. I mean, it was a high number. It might be too high for them, but it felt, it was a high number. But,
what I often do in those what I often do in those situations is I'll say, this is my regular quote, but if that's a problem, we can talk about it. And that way it allows them to know that they can, run something by me, and I'll say yes, no, or maybe. But at least it lets them know that I won't be offended if they come back with something else. One of my favorite negotiating stories ever was during the 1950s. There was a TV show, and they heard that Margaret Dumont was available. Margaret Dumont was the great straight lady to Groucho Marx in his great films of the 30s, and she was, available. So they arranged a meeting for the producer to meet with her and her agent at a restaurant. So they sit down, and the agent says, Miss Dumont will not take a penny less than $50,000. And the producer said, we'll pay her $300. And the agent said, done.
Oh my God.
So I love that story. So,
Can I add a little bit?
Yeah.
Can I add a little bit here?
Sure.
When I was in my consulting world, a lot of nonprofits just don't have the budget or whatever. But also, what I would often do with a nonprofit who came to me and said, "We want this done. Can you do it?" I would point out that I didn't have to bid on it. I didn't have to develop a proposal. I didn't have to come and give a presentation. So I can give you a better rate than if I were bidding with a cast of 5 or 6 different companies bidding for the same job.
Yes.
And that gives them a little feeling that they're special, and especially if it's a cause that you're particularly in favor of, then you've got room to maneuver when it comes to coming to terms with it. And the best answer is when you give them the number and they go, okay. So, good luck.
Cool. Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
So, yay. 3 cheers. So, Adam, are there any Mr. Sci-Fi questions?
Yes, we have another question from Rose Kirby. She says, what do you think Westworld is doing good going? I think what do you think Westworld is doing good, and what is going to happen next? Because you just did a Mr. Sci-Fi video on
the production quality is astonishing. Aaron Paul is great. The idea of using Singapore as a futuristic version of LA and also shooting in Los Angeles too is very clever. It's a very high quality show. It's just I think they're making some very simple mistakes that could be easily rectified if they just were mindful of what they're doing, which they aren't. But okay, great. So Akira, you're up. Go for it. There, yeah. Just unmute your mic, Akira, and yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can. You bet.
Thank you very much. Okay, this is Akira, living in LA, near the West Hollywood, Silicon Lake, and I moved here 2017 December from Tokyo, Japan. And I am a horror film composer and Japanese language instructor and a guitarist. And right now I'm working on several indie movie, and also I'm try to get some more a student for my Japanese language lesson and the guitar lesson. So what is special for me right now? Okay, one question. Okay, right now, before the quarantine, it was easier to get a student.
Yes.
Now. And now, actually, I'm putting my ads everywhere, like Craigslist and Nextdoor and also Facebook. And also still I can get some inquiry. Oh, you're teaching or you're teaching guitar or teaching language or make music, blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
And, but it's hard to get a new client right now.
Yes.
After quarantine. Maybe, everybody's now doing the same thing, for example, so many musicians, like even the top class musicians doing some Facebook Live for the donation or Facebook instruction, or teaching business on the website, teaching online teaching business, or, they begin the online teaching business, or maybe more they are trying to get the student on the internet basis. Maybe now the internet is more competitive now.
Yes.
And some good idea to break through this noise, like me, not a famous guy.
I don't know. I don't have a good answer to that. I mean, it's again, people are going to be a lot more cautious now, because they don't know what the future is going to be. They don't know how long they're going to be stuck at home.
And actually, maybe they do not want to use extra money.
Yes, yes. So what I would think to do would be to say, okay, first of all, many of us are not spending as much money as usual because we're not eating out, we're not going places, we're, etc.
Like to work.
We discovered that there's a box in our kitchen that flame comes out of, and you can cook food on it. It's amazing. And what a thing. And I would say, okay, what do people need now that I can be of service? For instance, I heard today that although all the live action production is shut down, animation is going strong because people can do it in their homes. So if you reached out to a lot of animation companies and said, hey, I'm a composer, and I know that you guys are still in active production, and I'd love to have my work considered, that's a possibility to earn. And so that's where I would direct my my focus, because someone wanting to learn Japanese is less likely going to happen now, that people don't even know if they can travel to Japan, than in a month or two. But a composer can work at home and can work with a company. And so look at just who's actively making stuff now, particularly network shows, like animation shows and things like that, and reach out to them. That's what I would suggest.
Mark?
Yeah.
I know I've mentioned this enough times, but I'm friends with an animator who's pretty big in the business, and he keeps telling me the same thing. He keeps telling me that studios are actively calling him now for pitches.
Yes.
Like they never did before. Like they're asking for pitches. Remember that pitch from 5 years ago? We'd like to, you to send us this, because he keeps calling me to kind of export stuff for him and everything.
Great.
Because as he keeps saying, you can literally make a whole animated show without two people ever being in the same room.
Right. Yes. But also the buyers know that they have an ongoing need of content. people are, you know, and people are all at home watching stuff, which means they're consuming the content faster than normal, which means that when this all is over, they have to have something new to show people, and production has shut down. So they're looking for solutions, and animation is a great solution for them. So it's relatively low cost, and it's popular. So yeah, that's why.
And just in terms of your mentoring people in Japanese, you could create a little ad of saying, if you want simple business level Japanese, because we all know that the jobs we'll all be struggling to get work when this is over.
Sure.
And say, I will do a group rate where we're just going to, you know, just set something up for simple business Japanese. So if people are looking for work, you set up one class for a lot of people, which would mean that they could pay next to nothing. You'd still be getting the same money for the time involved, and you would be giving it a very specific objective, which is there may be work in Japan where there isn't work here.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, that's all. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yay! 3 cheers. Okay.
Just to come in on that, my daughter, she wants to learn Japanese, and if you got that group rate, that group was the group ordeal like Elaine was speaking on.
Yeah.
I know her friends would join in too.
Oh, that's great.
That's great.
And so I already connected with you on Facebook, so you keep me up to date on that.
Great. And the one thing, you know, I put my email address on the chatting board, you know. And if somebody guys interested in horror music or Japanese language or literature, you can contact me, and every information is on my website. Okay?
Cool.
Thank you very much.
That's great. Yay! So anything from the Mr. Sci-Fi questions?
By the way,
By
the way, this speaking of Margaret Dumont, if this works, this came up the other day. Let's see if this works. Let's see.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Uh-oh. That's funny. That's funny.
How do I get out of this?
There you go.
That's
Okay,
great.
good. That's great.
great.
Thanks, Dave. So Mark Shepard, I guess you're up if you're up.
Oh, we've got a Mr. Sci-Fi
Oh yeah, sorry
question.
about that. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, no worries. Mark Lungo again asks, do you have any plans for what you'll do after Space Command is finished? So what in 20?
Well, again, we have a number of projects we're starting while Space Command is ongoing. So, you know, we're doing Sweet Haven, and we're doing Fugitive Space, and we're doing the Lane's films and all sorts of stuff. So there's no end to all the different things we're involved in. So that's it's ongoing. As long as we can do it, we're going to be doing it. So let's see. So that was Mark Shepard. Are you around, Mark? I'm not hearing him. So, okay. So I guess, Earl, I guess you're next if you're around. Earl? Nope. Okay. David Bartlett, you want to take your turn? David, are you there? Yeah, there you go. Great.
Hi. So, great. I'm David Bartlett. I'm a filmmaker, a teacher, and a human rights activist, and the co-producer of Space Command.
Yay!
Also the post-producer and in charge of casting, and I do haircuts. Actually, it's the only thing I don't do.
Yeah.
But
acting?
What?
Acting. You're one of the roles.
I'm acting one of the roles. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
I started making. I saw my the Battleship Potemkin and the Lon Chaney's Phantom of the Opera on TV when I was 10.
Mm-hmm.
I decided I'm going to make movies. I was in Beaverton, Oregon, in 1980. I never talk about when I was in Oregon. I managed movie theaters.
Mm-hmm.
I managed a movie theater that played Star Trek: The Motion Picture, and
Cool.
had people sleeping in tents outside to go see it. I mean, it was like a major event.
Cool.
That was a big deal for me too.
Yeah.
So I moved to LA in 1980. I started working pretty much right away. I worked with a production designer at New World Pictures with Roger Corman called Jim Cameron, who later became James Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked on at the studios on Pulp Fiction and Speed and Total Recall and a bunch of other cool movies.
Cool.
And then I started doing independent films and working on films on my own. And now I have 2 brand new film festival awards.
Great. Yay.
Got them from the Houston Film Festival. 2 sort of experimental, poetic sort of films. I shot all the film and did the music and performed the music on,
cool.
which was new for me at the time. So that was fun. Excuse me. And the new news now is that my little movie called I Am the Flag, starring Jimmy Weldon, Last week I announced it had 250,000 views, and as of today, it has 300,000 views.
Wow, great!
So that's pretty remarkable to me. And so I'm getting the word out to Jimmy as he's still alive. He's 96 years old, I guess.
Wow.
He is a World War II vet. He is the voice of Yaki Doodle Duck from the Yogi Bear show, the last surviving member. And he was with Patton's Third Army in World War II, and they liberated the book of him.
Wow.
So
That's great.
He's pretty amazing, and he does this great speech, which he narrates the film with. And so I'm having a friend of ours, mutual friend of ours, who's a 4-star general who's retired. He's going to start putting the word out, and others too. So if you can all log on and check it out, that'd be great. It's I'm the Flag, starring Jimmy Weldon on YouTube, and that would be great.
Great.
So as far as the acting goes, a little show called Ripple Effect, which is an episode of a little show called Space Command, and I have a part in that, which you all heard about, with my idea of the dogs needing to be in the show and bugging Mark about Forey Hubbard, which is my role for one scene.
Yes.
That was shot a while ago, and so we're going to work something out with that very soon.
It's going to be fun.
And as soon as my voice is a little hoarse, but it's going to get better very shortly.
Yeah.
And I'll be able to do that.
Great.
And funny enough, our next Mr. Sci-Fi question actually involves that very scene.
Aha. Okay. Great. Terrific.
Really?
Yeah. Keep
I wonder
going.
Who it's from?
Yeah. Really.
So,
Go for
if you are interested in working on Space Command in a paid position or a volunteer position, I actually have things people could do now. I am doing a lot of fulfillment. We just had a brand new Kickstarter campaign, so we're going to have even more fulfillment to do. What is fulfillment? If you went on do Kickstarter and wanted to purchase something with your contribution, like let's say autographed headshot or an electronic book of Star Trek's scrapbook of Mark's, I am the one that's going to be giving it to you with my team, which you could be a part of if you wanted to. So if that's of interest to people, you can contact me at davefilms@hotmail.com, and I'll put that in my my little chat here too, so you can all see that on the screen. And you can get involved that way and be in the queue for as soon as we're done with this pesky virus. We're going to go back to building sets and planning shoots and having all sorts of things, costumes and everything else, and shooting.
Great.
So that's me. You can talk to me about that.
Okay. Yay. So you said there was a question, Adam?
Wait, I don't know if it's finished.
Oh, are you not finished? Okay. Were you finished, David?
Yeah, I'm done.
Good.
Okay,
He's
all right,
done. All right, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
All right. So Todd Chamberlain asks a question about writing Easter eggs, because your Forey Hubbard asks the question, can the harm or allow to be harm, which is an Asimovian reference.
Right, yes.
So the question is, how do you gauge how tongue-in-cheek or how obvious or subtle to be with these Easter eggs?
Well, science fiction, of course, has a long tradition, and the science fiction fans have a voracious knowledge of science fiction. They've been reading it since they were kids, watching shows and movies. And so Space Command is very much a tip of the hat to 1950s science fiction without being tongue-in-cheek, without being ironic. But so all the Space Command personnel are named after science fiction writers of the 50s. Nichelle Nichols' character is Octavia Butler, who's a science fiction writer who I knew personally. I know many of these people personally, of course, and and then I'll use Asimov's three laws of robotics and so forth. The trick is to treat the plot and the characters seriously, but those little tips of the hat, those little acknowledgments of what I love, is just the fun that I share with my audience, because I know that, a lot of my audience will get it. Some won't, but that's okay. And because the story can speak to people who know my references and people who don't. So yeah, it's just part of the fun. So and frankly, even we did that when we were working on Star Trek or Babylon 5 or Sliders. I mean, we constantly would be referencing the genre in one way or another. So that was, we all knew each other. So there was a lot of that back and forth, So Earl, I guess we missed you last time. You want to take your turn? Earl, do you want to?
Yeah, I just had to unmute myself.
There you go.
Hey everybody, I just chimed in. I was watching on YouTube, and then I saw a question and I chimed in, but I'm doing great. working online, teaching music. I've got 2 films that I'm working on now, or the web series. 2 different ones, and each of them have 2 episodes. But that's it. That's about it with me.
Okay.
Just
Do you have any
good to see
questions
everyone.
or
anything you need?
anything you need?
I like Judy was saying, I've been quite busy. Just with the stay away home order, moving all the equipment from my storefront building to the house, and setting up Zoom, and trying to figure all of the details of how to use Zoom that works in teaching, so I don't lose the quality of my teaching. I mean, one of my things, I don't know if you would have any advice on this, but eventually I would like to get over to Skywalker Post House and kind of dibble in there on the sound design, or even maybe in the or even the composition. I saw David Recklin was been popping over there here and there.
Yeah, you might want to shoot him an email and just see if he'd be open to making an introduction. You can ask.
That would be really cool.
Sure.
Yeah, but other than that, doing great. Just raising the kid.
Cool. Well, congratulations. 3 cheers. Yay. So another question, Adam? Is there another question from Mr. Sci-Fi?
Yeah, let's go with Rose Kirby has another question.
Great. Terrific.
What do you do when a series ends for good? The Arrow is just finished, is what she's meant. So what should I do, is what she asked.
The great thing is there's so much science fiction and comic book material out there now. I mean, it's just astonishing. Just ask your friends what are good shows to watch. I mean, we're finally getting into Better Call Saul. It's a terrific show. Shows nowadays, shows don't end for good. They come back in various, good or bad iterations. So in fact, the funny thing is my friend Michael Ninkin actually wrote a Green Arrow pilot probably about 10 years ago. So it was a completely different show from what ultimately ended up being on air, but that was a pilot that he actually wrote, and I read it, and it wasn't bad. But so we'll see Arrow, Green Arrow again. He'll come back, Boomerang Arrow or whatever. So yeah. So let's see. Now we go to April Adams, and then we'll do you, William. You need to unmute your mic. Can you? There you go.
There I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
If I ever get this figured out. Okay. Well, I've had a nice couple of days. That's all I can say. Last week, those of you who were here, apologies to those who were here and are going to hear me repeat myself. I had an assignment to do a self-tape for the audition, and I was having a lot of technical difficulties and contemplating how the hell do I do this all by myself, because I got to have somebody to read opposite me and operate the camera, and I was agonizing, and well, all of my bright ideas and everybody's bright ideas fell through, and I finally just decided, damn it, I'm going to have a human being with me. So there, because I discovered that I've got a very lovely married couple down the hall from me. He's an actor, and she was working with him, and so they volunteered. So she ran the camera and he read opposite me, and we did it yesterday, and it's the best goddamn self-tape I've ever made. And it's in, thank you God. So that happened, and
cool.
Some of you, I'm sorry, what? Right.
Oh yeah.
Were you going to say something, Mark?
No, that's good. I mean, see, one thing that's kind of fun about this self-imposed isolation is that it's forcing us to learn new skills and to reach out to people who know how to do things that we need. I mean, it's really, I like the fact that no one can really be on automatic in their regular by rote daily life. It makes us come up with things, and that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. So I applaud it in that way. So anything else?
Thank you.
Yeah, anything else?
I had planned to have another friend be my scene partner. We always do that together. And we rehearsed by virtue of my going over to her house. She lives in a regular house, and she sat on the porch, and I sat in my car in her driveway. And
Great.
we
That's great.
read it opposite each other.
That's very
but
cool.
we couldn't record it because she would have had to use her computer, and she managed to spill soda on it and destroy it.
Well, there you go.
Before it was time for us to do that.
Yeah.
So that's when I moved on to the next solution, which turned out to be perfect. So
Great.
yay,
That's
thank you,
great.
God.
Great.
And I had talked with everybody about my having been in Uncle Vanya for several months, and after 6 extensions, getting nominated for Los Angeles Drama Critics Circle Award for Best Ensemble.
That's great.
We haven't heard yet. They haven't decided yet, but that's a lovely thing. But it turns out that the group that I was part of that did it is the New American Theater in Hollywood. And it's a membership company, and I am now a member by virtue of having been cast.
That's great.
And they hold a weekly studio workshop kind of thing. And one of the people turns out to be a playwright, not an actor. And he contacted me yesterday afternoon and said he wants to write a one act, and asked if I could give him permission to write me into it.
Cool.
Well, am I going to give him permission? Yes.
That's great. That's great.
And lo and behold, he sent it to me this afternoon, and it is so much fun.
Oh, good.
It's just a hoot.
That's great.
So I guess that's my latest.
Missed opportunity. You should have said, wait, let me think about it. Okay, I'll do it.
Yes.
Well, it was email. You sort of truncate things that way. Yeah. And the movie, I was in The Way Back and had a lovely scene opposite Ben Affleck, and a couple of people have actually managed to see it and have complimented me. And the Times Review talked about the wonderful ensemble. So I've been having lovely company lately, and that's to me.
Great.
So
Three
thank
cheers.
you.
Good job. Good job. So
Thank you.
Another question, Adam?
Yes, we have Zach says, hi, Mr. Sci-Fi. I've heard that villains should be the hero of their own story.
Yes.
So inside the villains' minds, their actions are justified.
Yes.
Instead of just being plain evil.
Yes. Exactly. You and the writer has to get into that person's head and look out their eyes, and the actor does too. But it's also usually a very good idea to make the villain more powerful than the hero. There's a lot of tricks to it, but I don't tend to write. Elaine and I don't tend to write villains. We tend to write people in opposition, and then there becomes a moral choice, and that's very much what we like to do. And we like heroes who have to say to themselves, "Am I on the right side?" Just because you think you're the hero doesn't necessarily mean you are. And it's the actions that you are embarked upon that determine whether or not you're acting in a heroic fashion. So self-examination of one's actions is always a very interesting, dramatic question. So yeah. So William Garcia, go for it. Yay, William.
Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Hopefully we're all, I guess, stuck at home. This is day number 42 for me.
Yes.
Because my whole ordeal started on March 3rd. So going on 42 or 43.
Wow.
It's been a pretty crazy week. Just to tell you a little bit about me, I'm a producer, table member for many, many years. I'm also a member of the Producers Guild of America. We had some interesting meetings. This is something I think everyone should kind of start thinking about. But the PGA had some meetings with union officials, DGA, IATSE, SAG. Moving forward, there's going to be a lot of policies that are going to be placed during pre-production and production. Not until a vaccine is developed, and they're saying it could be about 18 months. So, yeah, and they're talking about, for example, scenes that you might have, for example, 100 or 50 extras. you might not be able to do those. There's going to be certain requirements. Be ready for wearing masks, gloves, washing stations, on set. You're going to be required to have maybe possibly up to you usually have to have one medic. Now, again, I'm talking, union films, not the low budget kind of projects, but just, they're starting to talk about things like that.
Okay.
So just keep in mind and it was also really fascinating that the DGA elected Steven Soderbergh to lead the committee for resuming production. And Steven was the director of Contagion. So that was an interesting choice.
That's very funny. That's very funny. So
it was really funny.
That's great.
I'm continuing my Zoom meetings. I kind of scaled it back a little bit because I'm getting pretty busy with development of numerous projects. Tomorrow I'm going to have one of my entertainment attorneys, so he'll be available to answer everyone's questions.
Great.
And then I'm just doing small, seminars and things like that, just to give back to the filmmaking community, and then working and waiting for us to wake up from this nightmare. At least we don't have zombies.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. My wife made me watch, I Am Legend.
Yes,
that's
yes.
about it.
They're coming. They're coming.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So great. Well, 3 cheers.
And to back up on your talking about the new things coming to the industry, there's a very good article in Deadline. I mean, it's purely speculative, but it may be they were talking a lot about things that were probably talked about in that meeting with the DGA and the PGA.
Great. Cool. Okay, so another question, Adam?
Sure. We've got some more questions from Kabuki Kid. I'm just gonna combine these two because it's basically your opinions of various shows. So The Mandalorian and the upcoming Snowpiercer TV.
I haven't seen The Mandalorian yet, but I want to. Snowpiercer, I wasn't that big a fan of the movie, but I'm willing to give the TV show a look. So we'll see what happens. So great. So I don't think AJ Wedding is here. I think he's just letting us use his Zoom ID. So I guess it's Elaine. Wonderful Elaine. Go for it, Elaine.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes. Like a lot of you, keeping extremely busy.
Yes.
Juggling the ripple
effect. Yeah.
The ripple effect, and as soon as our editor can come up for air, I'm putting together a couple of, re-editing some scenes for Voiceless Roar, because I have somebody in London whom David Bartlett knows, who is going to try and help me sell that. And we have Michelle Hart, who was acting in that too, gave us a lovely scene, which is already edited.
Yes.
And so we're working on that, and also blocking for once we get out of
hour 4.
For hour 4.
Yeah.
So actually, we've been juggling.
It's busy.
We've been really, really busy.
We're more busy than before.
Yes, it is more. Well, it's hard to be more busy than before, but we've been extremely busy, and it's great to have people who are finding all of these inventive ways to survive the restrictions on the plague, which is great. I mean, even hearing about it on the radio, people are doing musicals from their apartment and all of these other things.
Yes.
So so I know we can look at it in a couple of ways, but I just love human invention. So
there
I
you
guess
go.
that's it for me.
Yay! Cheers. Final question, Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. One final question. It's a good one from Mark Lungo, and I'm actually curious about this myself. Why don't most series these days show the episode titles on screen anymore?
That's an interesting question. I don't have an answer to that. We do on Space Command, and I think it's a good idea. I hadn't noticed that, but that's very interesting. I think it's because when you look at it on a screen, like on a VOD platform or whatever, it says the title, and then you click on it. That's probably the reason they didn't used to have that capability. But you know, I like having the title on the episode itself. So okay, great. So now it's
years ago they didn't do it either.
No.
I mean, Star Trek was one of the few.
Yeah. And what? No. So now it's me, wonderful me. So okay. So as I mentioned, we're doing a Space Command episode where the actors are recording their own scenes, and we're having a great time with it, with Nichelle Nichols and Armin Shimmerman, and on and on and on, Bob Picardo, etc. And it's coming together. Dave's doing a great job piecing it together. We'll see how it goes. Meantime, as Elaine said, we're working on hour 2. We're prepping hour 4. I'm writing the new book, Greenlighting Yourself. I'm writing the Sweet Haven pilot. Just doing a ton of stuff. And but it's fun. It's great fun. And staying safe. We're also working out regularly so that we don't, end up vegetables. It's so we worked out like 2.5 hours this morning. Stuff like that, 3 times a week, and staying safe and trying to keep our people safe. And it's also a very interesting thing because we're shooting Space Command this way. We actually have actors doing scenes and sending them to us from there's LA, Atlanta, Vegas, Saskatchewan, upstate New York, New York City. I mean, and Northern
England.
California and England. So London, wherever hell Michelle lives now. But so it's terrific. And again, I there's the question of, well, what are they wearing, or how do they shoot it? And so for instance, with Robert Picardo, I had to go into the shed and pull out a costume for him and a little headband thing, which we'll send him tomorrow. With Ethan McDowell, I found a costume from Aliens that I got, and it's one of my favorite movies. And so for Ethan, and Ethan just sent me a video where he's wearing it. It looks great, and so it's just it's a thoroughgoing adventure. And thank God people are being supportive of me and supportive of what I'm doing. I have my Mr. Sci-Fi channel. I want very much to expand that. My viewership and my reach. And so if anyone ever wants to help me pursue that, I'd be very interested in their help. I welcome their help. And I just started a new YouTube channel, which I probably am not going to pursue long term. It's called Mr. Politics, and it allows me to talk politics, which I don't do for the table. I don't do for Mr. Sci-Fi, but I just felt that things were very dire now and needed. I just felt the need to opine. And but I just did that last night. So if anyone wants to check out Mr. Politics, please do. And if anyone has not checked out Mr. Sci-Fi, please do. And but beyond that, we're having a good life, and we hope everyone stays safe and stays healthy. So far so good. So we've come to the end of yet another table meeting. I think everyone's had their turn. And so if you have a white chair, take it outside. The restaurant has asked us not to congregate over there, but to congregate outside if you tip well. And etc. So thanks, guys. Really enjoyed it.
Well, we
Yes?
do have one question.
What's
in
the
terms
question,
of the
Elaine?
general
Do
vote?
you really wanna
We
ask
have
this?
people in London. We have people in New York. Should we start earlier?
Like 5 or 5:30. There's one thumbs up. There's one thumbs up. So maybe next time.
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe next time as an experiment, we'll do it 5 or 5:30 and see how that works. But we won't go to as late. We'll just move it a little bit over.
Yeah.
So great. Well, anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate it. If you didn't see all of the session, it'll be on Mr. Sci-Fi and you can watch it. And that's about it. So thanks everyone. Have a good week and stay safe. Bye. Bye, guys.
Well, everyone.
Bye. And there, and then we go bink and okay. There we go.